we have to
Beer.
is
Beer.
itself.
Beer. So many choices.
Only no function beer well without.
Woohoo! Beer! Hello and welcome to yet another episode of Beer Busters, where we're going to bring you, of course, the news and reviews of some wonderful brews. My name, I'm sure you know by now, is Dan Baker. I'm joined by my co-host and virologist,
Steph Huffman.
and we can't forget the demented and fermented
Wayne Baker.
Now, today we are on location, as we typically are now. It's rare
Yeah, I
that
don't
we're
think
not.
you need to say that anymore.
Yeah, it's pretty much, I think I've said this before, and I always forget in my own head because I work up this, like in my head, I work up this giant, hey, here we are, let's do this thing, here's where we're at kind of deal. But everybody's kind of sick of that, I would imagine. Anyway, we are somewhere I'm actually kind of ashamed to say I've never been, and I've had plenty of beers from here. We are in Croydon/Bristol, Pennsylvania, which can only mean we're at Neshaminy Creek Brewing, and I could not be happier to be here, which means we have with us Mr.
Jeremy Myers.
Jeremy, thank you so much for having us out here.
Okay, and now we can all step away, and Jeremy's going to finish the
Yep,
show.
we're done. Jeremy, you're out of go.
You haven't asked any questions yet.
The Jeremy Myers podcast.
It only takes one. Besides my
you're
name.
right.
I have one question for you. How do you feel about beer?
Wait, we have to do news
We have a
first.
couple of things we got to do first.
Yeah, a couple things we got to do first.
But before we do news,
Before we do news, we of course have to. Well, there's a few things we're going to do before news. We have to thank Audible for the continuing love and support. Audibletrial.com/beerbusters is your ticket to a free 30-day trial of an Audible account where you get to peruse the selection, download, listen to, and keep your own audiobook. And let's face it, you're broke. It's going to be the holiday. Well, it's going to be after the holidays by the time this goes up.
Happy New Year.
Happy 2017.
Oh, yeah, I guess so.
One and all. If you're listening to this the day it goes up. If you're listening to it next year, still happy 2017.
no, this will be
It'll come the 30th.
the 30th.
This will be well, yeah, but it's
so
still
happy
after
New Year's-ish.
It's still after you've done all your holiday shopping, which means you're still paying your bills off, but you want to listen to a new book. So therefore, you can go to audibletrial.com/beerbusters and sign up for that 30-day.
These commercials get better and better.
That's what I'm here for. This is what I'm here for. Yeah, Audible. Thanks.
And if you still have some Christmas money to spare, why not send a little Christmas gift to us, the Beer Busters, by going to patreon.com/beerbusters and signing up to become a patron and donate a few bucks to us each time we release a podcast episode, or as little as $1 a month. Every little bit helps, and you get cool behind-the-scenes perks, which will vary and get better and better depending on your donation level. So to learn more, go to patreon.com/beerbuster.
Definitely do that. And now, how do we feel about beer? There's a sipping beer in front of us. How do we feel about this beer?
We need to drink it.
I feel thirsty.
All right.
Thirsty. That's usually how I feel
I've been
about
cheating
beer.
a little. So.
It's quite all right.
Got a bit of a head start. He was here before us. So.
This is the Churchville Lager we're starting with, right?
Yep.
All
This is
right.
Churchville Lager.
Cool. I don't know that I've had this one before.
What?
I don't. Yeah.
I'm fairly certain I've had this before.
I'm fairly certain Dan has had this before.
I'm fairly certain you've had this
Do you
before.
can this one?
Yes, we do.
I've had it before.
One of our 6 canned
Yep.
beers. Well,
If
core canned beers.
Okay.
And the Neshaminy beer in a can, I think we've all had all of them.
And this is not just any lager. This is an award-winning lager.
Woo! What award did it win?
It's won 2 J.A.W.N medals, a gold and a bronze.
Hey, congratulations!
You need the silver to get the
So we
trifecta.
need the trifecta. Won a bronze this year and a gold in 2013. So
Fantastic. Well
It's really
deserved.
nice.
It is the perfect sipping beer.
It is
It's
the
not?
perfect sipping beer. And
Although
it's
I
got a
kind of
nice-
just want to, like,
I
after
know,
the
you do
traffic
kinda
on the
wanna-
turnpike.
Yeah, you want to
you can pound them pretty easily too.
Yeah,
So.
it's only what,
Refill?
4.9?
4.9, yep,
4.9.
only
That's not
4.9.
too bad. It's got a nice malt character to it.
Oh
It's,
yeah, I was
really
going to say it.
Which pairs well with the fact when Dan and I pulled up, we got out of the car. The first thing I smelled was the grains.
Yeah.
I was like, you smell that? Yep, somebody's making beer.
Between the grain and probably the barbecue as well.
Yeah.
Which that barbecue is pretty good. Which I want to give them a shout out. What is it? The meat truck? Is that the name?
Meat Wagon.
Meat Wagon. Meat Wagon. I had the pulled pork and the mac and cheese, and it was delicious.
Yep. Great, guys. Every Friday we do rotations, so it's a
cool.
different. We do 2 usually, so they'll switch back and forth each weekend or each Friday. But he's here 2 Fridays in a row because of a schedule. I don't want to say snafu, but just a change. But yeah, it's great. I mean, the pulled pork, the brisket, and the chicken. I had the chicken tonight and the baked beans.
Nice.
See, I didn't have
All
the beans.
sounds very
Rich
good.
had the chicken. Said it was really good.
And you know what? And I'm sure the truck's heated, but it is freaking cold out
Oh,
there
my
tonight.
God.
Yeah,
And
Oh, yeah.
it is cold out.
So power to whoever's out there cooking everything up. And it's a testament to how good it must be that people are actually going out there and standing in the cold and getting food. And I know Rich had said, and you said as well, Dan, when you guys got your food, I mean, it was like snap, like everything was boop, 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 and it was ready.
Yeah, it's
which is
not
pretty
like
cool.
normally if you go to a food truck and they have it like all ready to go, it's kind of like stale and old. Like, no, this is super fresh.
Yeah.
Amazing. So kudos to him.
I mean, he usually he comes in at like 4 o'clock on Fridays and starts serving around 5.
Oh, cool.
So he's not sitting. He hasn't been here all afternoon, which is a good thing. I mean, we're not super busy for lunch. We're not known as a lunch destination,
Right. Yeah.
So
It depends what kind of
breweries,
work day
yeah.
you're having.
That's true.
Saturdays and Sundays are a different story, but on Fridays we don't have a lot of people coming here for lunch
Yeah.
because
Right.
we don't have a kitchen. So
Last time I was here, there was a tot cart or something.
yeah, the tot cart. Yep.
Oh my god, those were freaking phenomenal.
Tot cart?
Yeah.
Like tater tots?
Yeah.
And like various different tater tot
Yep.
Oh,
related
yeah.
dishes?
Like all of your tater tot dreams can come true.
They make one of the cheese sauces. Usually when they come here, they make one of the cheese sauces out of one of our beers.
Oh, nice.
So like I
Oh,
think
that's cool.
I'm almost certain the last time was the cream ale. They made like a cream ale cheese sauce.
Ooh, that sounds pretty good.
God.
Nice.
Really, really good.
And I'm hungry again. Well, I know we have a lot to do, so why don't we start with this? There were a couple of stories that I saw, and actually I didn't find anything right away that I thought was like worth talking about. So there's a couple that after a lot of digging, I found stuff that I actually wanted to bring
There's
up on the
nothing
show.
on the internet worth discussing.
So we're just going to skip
We're
this
done.
segment.
No. This one, like I laughed when I read this one, and I felt really bad for doing so. There's a brewery that had to apologize for a very unfortunate play on words on their website.
Oh, I saw about that.
Yeah. So this article starts off, quote, "I feel horrible that this oversight happened," said company founder of a Milwaukee brewery, which was Mob Craft Beer. They crowdsourced their suggestions of their beer names from citizens when they have a new recipe and everything. So this month, a beer went up called Date Grape. Now, in their defense, it wasn't the first thing that popped in their head. It's a mixture.
Should hope not.
Well, right. I mean, it'd be kind of weird if it was. But it's beer whose recipe involves a mixture of dates and grapes. So I see where their minds went with it, but at the same time...
How about grape date?
Yeah.
Grape date would have been better.
Yeah. So in a statement on the Mob Craft Beer Facebook page, company founder Henry Schwartz explained that there was no process for screening names before that, and a few other entries appeared on the website.
Seriously? So they
Yeah.
open up to the public to crowdsource their beer names, and there's no screening process?
But now they're going to.
Well, I mean, how freaking stupid do you have to be?
I know. Well, especially like if that's a name that comes up, even at first glance, if
but
you're
yeah.
the most innocent of person, you're going to think, "Wow, that's shit."
Yeah, and even without a screening process, somebody has to at least write that down on a menu or something.
Somebody's
somewhere.
got to type it on the Facebook page.
Yeah,
That
and
person
put it
doesn't
on the
think,
internet, and nobody's going to stop and think, "Wait a minute, this might not be a good idea."
This might not be a good name for a beer. So yeah, that happened.
Hey, boss.
Speaking of grape, I've had.
Oh yeah.
Oh, have
How
you had
was it?
Grape Ape?
How was it?
I had Grape Ape. Hands down, the best Voodoo Donut rogue beer that has been made.
Good.
And you know, prior to this one, I have hated all of them.
Yeah, yeah.
I've gone on record saying they're disgusting.
The lemon
this
one was
tastes
good.
like Dimetap, and I fucking love it because I love Dimetap. It is like Dimetap beer. It's the best thing ever.
Does date grapes taste like roofies?
Come on.
But anyway, that's my
You can cut
review
that
on-
out if you feel so inclined, Ed.
I don't know.
That's my review on Grape Ape.
Yeah.
It lives up to the. Well, I will say though, the donut is still better.
Well,
The
I think
donut
the
is
donut
still
is
better.
always better.
Well, I
But-
mean, it's.
in any circumstance.
The beer was pretty tasty.
I got to find that beer because I really want to try that. There's only one Rogue Voodoo beer I haven't tried. I forget which one it was. I had the banana one. I had bacon. I had the raspberry chocolate. No, I don't. I think
There
I had
was
them
a
all then.
lemon one too.
I had the lemon one. Jess had that one, and she was kind enough to share it with me. That was good. That was actually really good.
Jeremy, have you had any of the Voodoo Donut?
No,
rogue
I'm
beers?
familiar with the beers, but I haven't had it.
I actually have not had any
with
myself either.
Pepto-Bismol pink bottles.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
I've got 2 on a shelf in my room.
Well, they won me over. I love the grape one because,
All right, cool.
Good.
I mean, if you don't like Dimetap and fake grape flavor, you're not going to like it, but I love that shit, so I'm happy.
One of the drawbacks of, I wouldn't say working in a brewery, but I definitely would say starting a brewery was that, I mean, I haven't slowed down my consumption of other breweries' beers, but I've slowed down my purchasing of bottles. So,
Right,
like,
right.
I don't think about ever going to bottle stores anymore. I'm like,
Yeah,
what's new here? You know,
It's been
Right,
a while since
yeah.
I've been in one. It's even been a while since I've looked at the beer selection in the
At
famed
the
Acme.
famed Acme.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, though, to be fair, Dan, in the city of Philadelphia, there are many places that have much better selections than that.
Well, that is true. However,
Something just fell.
There aren't other stores that have beer that also have my groceries.
That's
in them.
true. No, it's very convenient and it's a very good price.
It actually is.
Yeah.
That's the thing. And Acme, if you would like to sponsor Beer Busters Podcast, let us know. info@beerbusterspodcast.com.
Okay, now that we completely derailed that article.
Well, I know.
Yeah.
This
Just probably
one,
better off that
this
way.
one I'm going to
Probably a
give
good
a quick once-over because it's a fairly long article about it. But Stone has announced the first Richmond special release beer. There's actually two. This article only mentions one, but there is another in the series. It is the Stone Give Me Stout or Give Me Death.
Nice.
Which I really like. of it.
J.A.W.N,
Yeah.
send it to us.
Yes, J.A.W.N, please.
Get on it.
So you can find out about this series at stonebrewing.com/givemestout. This one is 9.5% ABV and 94 IBU stout. It's only available in 22-ounce bottles in draft as of this recording last week.
We want a crowler, Joe. A crowler.
Hey, and I know from personal experience, those are they do pack very nicely. Somebody sent us some crowlers before.
I don't know what you're talking about.
They ship very well through
Yes.
the U.S. mail.
So we've heard.
So we've
Yeah.
heard, allegedly.
Not filled with beer, just
No,
you know,
they are
It's-
empty.
It's,
We
just
just
it's an
like-
aluminum can. That's
Yeah.
all. It's
Yeah.
all for decoration.
It's for
sure.
collectible purposes only.
Whatever you may want to put in there is at your own discretion.
That's a little foreshadowing for today's game.
Yes. Well, the appearance of this beer, the national distribution of it, there's a bunch of states. Pennsylvania is included, in case you were wondering. I'm not going to go over the whole list. But there is also an IPA in this series as well.
Stone's making an IPA.
I know,
right?
imagine that. Give
What's
me
going on
IPA,
in the world?
Get out of town.
Give me IPA or give me death.
Speaking of Richmond, Triple Crossing just opened their new second, much larger location.
Oh, cool.
Yes. And they are now canning, or I think they were before it. Maybe they just didn't have it when I was there. Paranoid Ale Droid.
Oh, God.
Radiohead reference. You're welcome.
Radiohead for the win, Dan.
Nah, I lost that one.
You can talk to
Are you
Dan.
a
Not at
Radiohead
all.
fan?
Not at all.
There you go. There's
there you
two
go.
of you
We
and
will
two
get
of
along.
us.
You know, I was listening to Muse the one day, and this bastard goes, "Oh, the poor man's Radiohead."
They are
Yeah,
the
it's
poor
exactly
man's
what it is.
Radiohead.
They
Oh,
are.
fuck both of you.
I mean, I'm familiar with the band, but I mean, not. I mean, outside of maybe a record name or two, I couldn't name any songs.
I know OK Computer and Paranoid Android.
Paranoid Android is a song
I know
on OK Computer.
one album then. There's
Computer.
also Moonshaped Pool, which I have not liked a single song
Whatever.
off of. Anyway, one more news story, and then I promise we'll get away from this.
We really drifted here.
I know, right?
We did. So, question.
Oh.
What is the most
Answer.
amount of money you could think to spend on a beer that you are scientifically guaranteed to like?
Like it's the best beer I've ever had.
Scientifically
But I
will
can
be
go down the street and pay $5, and I know I'm going to like it.
catered to your specific genomes.
Is this like those
Bullshit.
drinks that Guinan made in 10 Forward that were like she would change the evaporation point of the drink to be exactly your body temperature, so as soon as you drank it, it evaporated
You
in
can
your mouth?
actually go to Levi's and pay to have them make a pair of jeans specifically for you too.
Wow.
I
I think that
do
costs
that.
like $200 or $300. So I imagine this is probably even
There's
more
probably
than
like
that.
Nope.
8,000.
A brewery in Australia
$1 million.
is promising the best beer of your life thanks to a personalized test using your DNA. So you will have a batch of beer, if you choose to do this, whipped up according to your own genetic
What size
code.
batch?
You know what? I don't think I saw that in here.
That
to be
makes
honest.
a difference.
It does
Yeah.
make a difference. So here's the cost: Australian dollars, $42,000. That translates. That translates
I don't know what
to
that-
just
Australian
above
dollars.
29,000 United States dollars.
Wow.
Yes.
That's got to be a lot of beer that you're gonna like.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
it better be a lot. But
Well,
I
I
It's
mean,
a metric fuck ton.
that is a
metric
metric fuck
barrels
ton of beer.
they complete a spit test, which is sent to a lab.
Almost an imperial ass load.
Almost. It's sent to a lab at a personal genetics company called 23andMe, and it will determine whether you prefer things sweet or bitter. It picks up on, I'm going to say,
can
And that's
tell
it.
you.
And then they
I
make
know,
a beer
I
based
know.
on that one
Yeah.
singular.
We're being
propyl
very negative about that.
We always
propylthiouracil,
are.
which is a chemical similar to the bitter compounds found in cabbage, raw broccoli, coffee, tonic water, and dark beers. And within weeks, they quote that you'll be invited in for a 1-to-1 session with Meantime Brewery. That's the brewery that's partnering with 23andMe. Their master
Brian
brewery.
was there.
Oh, cool. They will work to create your own version of the Tastiest Brew Around. Well, once they've come up with your ultimate recipe, you can name the beer yourself, and you're going to have it hand-delivered straight to your own door for $42,000.
Wait, the Australian guy's literally going to come?
I guess somebody's going to deliver it
Yeah,
to your
he
door.
brought me a bottle of their London Pale Ale.
Well,
When he
the
was
flight's
in
going to cost
Australia.
$2,500 anyway.
That's the thing, yeah. So you're already out $2,500 plus the rest of your $29,000.
It's already 5% of the
Yeah.
cost of the beer.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the person delivery.
Just to give somebody your spit so they can make you a beer that you're quote unquote guaranteed to like.
Here, you pay me $29,000 and you give me some of your spit, I'll make you a beer that
You know-
you're guaranteed to like. No worries. I won't even put peppers in it.
The way you're shaking your hand really worries me.
I'm giving you like my elite.
I will make you a
right now.
beer that you are guaranteed to love for nothing more than your spit.
That's so frightening and wrong.
Wow.
Just because I have a collection. But no, this gives me a really good idea.
Of course it does.
So, have you ever heard of Club W? They're not called
Yes.
Club W
Yeah.
anymore. They're now called Wink. But anyway, so it's this wine service
Yeah.
where you fill out a survey about like the types of food that you like
don't-
and the types of coffee you like to drink and things like that, and they cater wines to you and deliver you like a wine every month. It's for people who don't really know anything
yeah,
about
I
wine.
think I've heard of this.
I almost signed up
So they
for
ask
this.
you like normal, easy to answer questions. Somebody should do that with beer. Like, we should, like, do you like black coffee? Do you like a lot of cream in your coffee? Do you like burnt popcorn? Do you like buttery popcorn? Do you like well,
Yeah, but aren't like the shipping laws much more restrictive on beer,
Yeah.
like, as opposed to wine?
Yeah, but
With
That
the
would
with the
make it work.
reform that Wolf signed into law, you can officially sign up for wine clubs like this,
Yeah,
but beer
yeah.
is still.
I was
out.
a member of the Rare Beer of the Month Club
Were you? Mm-hmm. Yeah, you couldn't ship
for a
to,
whole year.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that they could ship.
Well, I am wrong.
I don't know if it's. I
Sure.
mean, I think it's one of those like legal gray areas.
Yeah.
where like they'll do it.
Sort of like the legal gray area every time we ship beer to J.A.W.N.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
or anything like that.
You know, or like when you go, like if you're
Or
like
when
a,
you ship crowlers.
a home brewer and you take like a growler to a homebrew meeting
Yeah.
and you drink half of it and take, like you have an open container in your
Yeah,
car.
yeah.
Well,
I think
the
that
open
changed.
container law has changed.
But at one
Yeah.
time, like that was technically illegal.
Yeah.
Like silly
I've even
stuff
heard
like that.
funny things like if you don't have tape on the top of it,
Yeah, yeah.
growler, it's technically an open container,
Right,
even if it's
right,
filled
right.
up to the top.
And if it's Sunday and you're wearing short pants, you're not allowed to drive after 4 p.m. because this is Quaker country and we have weird laws like that.
Are you familiar with the amusement law in Pennsylvania?
That sounds familiar.
No.
Like if you have a liquor license, you want to get an amusement license. If you have a liquor license, a bar license, or a brewery license, a brew pub license, anything like that, if you want to have live music and dancing, you have. I swear to you, dancing's included.
Is this Footloose?
If you want to have dancing, it's like a Footloose like type thing.
Yeah.
If you want to have dancing or live music, you have to have an amusement permit. Because technically, if there's any amplified music going on, and there are people dancing, it's illegal.
What if you
don't
have
have-
live
you don't have the
music,
proper
but you
permits.
forbade dancing?
As long as no one's dancing, and as long as the live music is not amplified.
So, wait, does that mean if you
Interesting.
Like if you had a 100-piece orchestra in here, and
Right.
everyone just stood there and watched them,
And so it's stock still,
or
and
like
there
a
was
live
no
jazz band with
amplification.
yeah.
So what
That
if
would
you
be
have
fine.
live music and somebody starts dancing? Are you supposed to tell them to stop or get out?
If you don't have an amusement permit, technically,
Yes.
If an enforcement officer saw someone dancing in your facility or your location,
Yeah.
without an amusement
They
permit,
would
that's
tackle
illegal.
and cuff that person immediately.
Don't get me started on the bingo law. That's a
Bingo law.
whole different can of worms.
Oh, I want to
there's
talk
a
more about
bingo
this like
law.
in the second tasting segment.
Yeah, after
now.
some beers, we should get
we
back into
started
this.
drinking.
Yeah, I'm going to write down weird laws so we don't
Weird
forget.
laws. Yes, thank you for writing that down.
I seem like
That'd be a
I seem to
good
be a
game.
magnet for like knowing all the dumb,
be a
stupid
good-
laws.
You and Wayne would get
Good.
along then.
Like, just look up fucking Utah.
That,
You can do a
actually, that's
whole
really
game
good,
on freaking beer
Weird
laws in
liquor
Utah.
laws? Yeah.
Utah's weird.
Yeah.
Real weird.
Speaking of beers that we will definitely like, this lager, man.
I'm already done.
This I know it's been a fight not to just chug the beer.
It's really good, and it drinks really easy. Yeah.
So we're here at Neshaminy Creek, and I'm pretty sure I've had this beer now that I think about it. I've had the Croydon Cream Ale, the famed Acme that I do all my shopping at. They carry your beers, and I always try to pick one up.
Which
whenever
does
I
not
get-
consider into the fact that I said they didn't have the best selection. I just want to point that out. They do have good beers there.
but you're not going to find anything rare there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they also had the one that really got me was J.A.W.N. They had J.A.W.N. there the one time, which is
Everybody loves J.A.W.N.
Of course,
Juicy Wolf Nugget.
right.
Yep.
So anybody who is not familiar with the word J.A.W.N., they may be listening to this. It is the be-all, end-all noun. That's pretty much what it is. But I love that you had a beer that was named that, but it's an acronym too, Juicy Ale with Nugget. Where did that idea come from? Is it just because you were like, hey, this is a juicy ale that has nugget, let's call it J.A.W.N.?
No, so the idea actually, well, the beer itself, the recipe, we were talking about doing just a pale ale. We wanted to have an American pale ale. We had a lot of nugget hops on contract at the time because we originally were using them in the county line. It wasn't one of the original hops in county line, but it was one of the original hops we could get once we opened. because we weren't under contract for anything when we opened. That's a whole different. That's a whole different, presents itself a whole different problem. You don't know when you're going to open. You don't want to sign this giant contract.
But the first thing you did was get your bingo license, right?
No, we can't get a bingo. We can't get a bingo license.
Don't distract him.
Sorry, I'm supposed to bring that up later.
So making a pale ale was on, definitely on our things to do list, so to speak. And I was having a conversation, weirdly enough, with Mike Lawrence. I don't know if you know who he is, Philly beer scene. He was the Philly Beer Geek. The Philly Beer Geek. He won the Philly Beer Geek Award, and then he also did the Philly Films documentary, Beeradelphia. Mike's a member of the Aliens, which I'm a member of the Aliens, so I've got to know Mike pretty well. And weirdly enough, he was in Italy, and he texted me. It was almost really fortuitous timing because we were already thinking about doing a pale ale with nugget hops, and he texted me and he was like, "Hey man, you should make a pale ale. And you should call it J.A.W.N." But I was like, but it's got to be an acronym or something. It was like, Juniper Ale with, something. And I was like, no, Juicy Ale with Nugget. And he's like, yeah, that'd be perfect. And it was like really strange that, he was on vacation with, I think, his now wife. They were just dating at the time. And I'm just lying on my couch having this conversation via text message with him. And that's where the idea came up. It was just, we had all this nugget. I like nugget hops. The only negative thing I can say about it is everyone thinks it's supposed to be like nugget nectar, and it's not the Imperial Amber Ale.
Right.
Everyone's like, "Oh, it's really good, but it's not nugget nectar." It's
a completely different style of beer.
Thank you. Ironically enough, we're not trying to make nugget nectar. There's already brewers done that, so why would we do that?
I just need to clarify: is it officially Juicy Ale wit nugget?
No. We didn't do it with the wit because I didn't want there to be any inference of being cheese
right
in it. We've had a few people say it would be so much more appropriate if you did that, but the other side too is you also have wit beers.
That's what my brain was.
So it's we went back and forth. It is something we consider.
How about whiff?
With
no with
with an F.
With
nugget. Jeremy, you are the head brewer here, which I don't think we mentioned yet. How long have you been with Neshaminy?
Since the beginning. So officially 4 years. June is when we opened. June 1st, 2012. So we've been open just a little over 4 years. But Rob and I started working on the project officially March of 2010. Was it? Yeah, March of 2010. Weirdly enough, we applied for our federal taxpayer identification number on June 1st, 2010. And then 2 years to the day we opened officially.
Awesome.
Oh, nice.
We got our license from the state of Pennsylvania on June 1st, 2012. Not that we had planned on it taking that long.
Yeah, wow.
It's so since the beginning, it's myself, Rob, and Steve are the three main operators, the owners and operators.
Nice. And so then this has been your location from the beginning where we are now.
Yep, we've always only ever been here.
Nice. It's actually and I don't think I've been here before. I may be wrong. I may have been here once a while ago.
There are some breweries we've been to that you don't remember.
If you have been here before, it's massively different. It changes every month almost.
Okay.
So.
Or maybe that's why I don't remember.
But even this area here didn't exist, until a year and a half ago. Obviously all the law changes in Pennsylvania, but most of it used to be up front in the small little tasting room and whatnot. And then once we knew the law was going to change, we moved everything out here. The walls, you can see actually the painters were here last night. The front wall was finished in August, and then this wall was just finished about a month ago. Although there's office space that's connected to all this too, and they still need to put the doors in. But the painters were here last night, so I always kind of joke that my wife anyway jokes that every time she comes here, everything every month it's something different.
There's new walls and new rooms and new things.
More tanks.
It's very big.
It is.
This whole area, and the whole brewing. It's super spacious. And then also
it seems small now. When we were here, 6 years ago when we signed the lease in October 2010, weirdly enough, we were drunk one night, not long after we got the keys, and we were having sprinting races. Myself, Rob, and Steve, and then actually Jamie Bogner from Craft Beer and Brewing Magazine. He's a chief content editor. He was the starter, or not the starter. He was the person that determined who won. So
nice.
He was just happened to be in town, and we were hanging out, and we brought him down here to check out the brewery, and he was the finish line, so to speak. So. But that's when you could actually run from one end of the brewery to the other without running into a fence, tanks, walls.
So is this the original brewing system that you opened with?
Yeah, still is. 15-barrel J.A.W.N. Northwest direct fire system. It's 22 years old, about to be 23 years old.
Wow.
We found it. It was in storage on a golf course in Emmaus, Pennsylvania, up Indian Valley Golf Course. I don't know. It used to be right off of, if you're going up the Northeast Extension, it's just before, not much before the Allentown exit. It's on the right. You can see the remnants of the old golf course. I can't remember the name of the restaurant. It was like the Farmhouse. Was a restaurant that was on the golf course. The golf course had closed, but the Farmhouse restaurant was still open, and they were going to start a brew pub. They bought the system. This system's got some cool history, actually. So, cool thing, one of the reasons why we wanted to get it is that it's a J.A.W.N. Northwest brew house. I was a brewer at River Horse prior to here. And,
okay, cool.
And we had they still on the same system. I actually saw it last night. They have a J.A.W.N. Northwest 20-barrel steam-fired house. So I had already spent 2 years brewing on a J.A.W.N. Northwest system. So once we went and saw this brew house, it was like, all right, we got to get it. It was in great shape. I knew how to. I didn't even have to actually get the plans for the brew house. I knew how to pipe it and plumb it. We actually just hired a stainless steel welder to come out and I just said, okay, we need this length. We need to do this, that. So that it was, the learning curve was kind of, cut in half because we already had a system that, I was pretty familiar with.
Right.
Plus, we got a really good deal on it and whatnot. But I guess the Farmhouse bought it from Frederick Brewing Company, which is now Flying Dog.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So I actually found out more information. I thought that I never got the official confirmation about it, but I thought in my head that, and it made sense chronologically, that what had happened was Frederick Brewing Company sold their facility and sold out, not sold out, so to speak, but to Flying Dog. Flying Dog moved from Colorado to Frederick, and then when they got there, they needed a bigger system, so they got rid of this. That's not 100% true. Who did I run into? I met someone. Oh, why can't I remember it now?
We'll call him Steve.
I can't remember. Anyway.
So Steve said.
It was like Copper Kettle Brewing or something like that. They were based out of Baltimore. But they were contract brewing at Frederick Brewing Company. And they contracted. So his beers were actually made on this brew house, which was really, really cool. What had happened was Frederick was getting so big that they needed to upgrade because of their own beer and their own contract brewing. They got the new brew house, and it was too big. I want to say it was too big, but it was just so large that the demand just ended up not being there for Frederick, and that's why they ended up selling to Flying Dog. So Flying Dog actually never brewed on this brew house, but a bunch of the beers that Frederick made, obviously, and then the contract stuff was originally. But so this brew house was originally in Frederick, Maryland, at the Frederick Brewing Company. So
Fun fact.
Quite the history.
Fun fact. I ate my dinner on my 30th birthday at the Farmhouse.
Oh
wow! There you go. Look at that small world.
So if you know where if you pull in, it's on your right. There's a big parking lot on the left. If you go over the golf course, because we actually we drove over the golf course to get. There's like a main house, like the country club house on the golf course. Behind that, so the mash tun and the kettle were just sitting outside. Stainless steel, so it's not going to rust.
Did you say free to a good home?
I wish it had. But it was just sitting outside, and then the control panel and the original pumps, and then also the heat exchanger, all those were in a storage shed.
Mm-hmm.
So we went up, saw it. I called. It was actually the broker for the deal was Matt Allen from Voodoo Brewing up in Meadville.
No way.
We had heard about it through some back channels, and I called up Matt and said, "Hey, heard you have this 15-barrel J.A.W.N. Northwest brew house for sale. What's the deal?" And I said, "Okay, well, we'll go look at it tomorrow." And he's like, "Well, you need to because I'm going to put it up on Pro Brewer." And I said, "Okay, we're going tomorrow." So we went the next day. We looked at it, said, "Yeah, we're going to take it," and called them up on the way. Got in the car to drive back here and called them and said, "Yeah, you'll have a check for the deposit tomorrow."
Nice.
So we got really, really lucky.
It was meant to be.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was.
Awesome.
So you also have a lot of fermentation space
Yep.
going on. So what kind of capacity do you have as far as fermenting?
Right now we are at I can't remember. No, we're at 20 1,000. I think that's right. Yeah, 1,020 barrels of total conical fermentation, stainless steel fermenters, plus an additional 120 barrels of wood fooders that you don't see.
Oh, nice.
They're hidden behind the tanks there's one here, and then the rest are in the next building, which we didn't have the last time you were here, Steph. And then we have There's 180 barrels of lagering that you see right here in front of you that are jacketed brand new tanks, and then we have an additional 90 barrels of lagering tanks that we have to wheel in and out of the cold box because they're not jacketed. We use those for extra beers, or like beers that we're going to condition for a long time, like the Oktoberfest that we'll lager for 5 months. We'll put that in the cold box.
That's cool.
So how often are you working that little system? I mean,
to
it's
fill
a
all
big
of these
system, but
tanks.
with all these freaking tanks here, holy crap!
Right now we do brew on a 24-hour schedule, 5 days a week. So we do brew 3 shifts a day. September was our biggest month ever. We brewed 1,624 barrels in 1 month.
Wow, that's a lot of beer.
Yeah, a lot of beer, a lot more than we have ever done. We can do 4 brews a day if we need to push it. Right now we're at 3. We're kind of in that slower time of the year, so it doesn't make sense for us to do 4. But in the summer we need to do 4 every day. So we go. The first shift comes in on. Well, the doors only lock for 14 hours a week. So from 11 o'clock at night on a Friday till 6 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday. And then the same time frame from Saturday night into Sunday. But then once we open on Sunday, once the weekend shift guys come in at 6 on Sunday, the doors don't lock again until 11 o'clock on Friday.
Wow.
So, but yeah, we run 24 hours a day, 3 shifts. If we need to do 4 brews a day, we can. We actually just slid back to. Well, we've been in a 3 brew a day schedule for the past month and a half. But next week and the week after, we'll go to 4 because we give the guys the day. Well, the 23rd is a half day. We have a staff holiday party here. So in order to do that, so we're not brewing, we're not cleaning, we're not packaging, we're not doing whatever. We will do a 4 brew a day schedule just so we have Friday off.
So you have that leeway.
Yeah. Same thing for the week after that too because it's the 30th.
Right.
And then the third, we're not making the guys come in on the 31st. So
nice.
I'm going to be here because we're actually doing a collaboration beer with a brewery from Europe.
Nice.
They're doing. We can talk about that later.
All right.
I don't want to
going on in the notes too.
Yeah, you can get me going on
collab
that,
with Europe.
Yeah,
with the entire continent.
The entire continent. So.
Is the plan to just keep adding tanks until you run out of space?
Not in this building anymore. I mean, if anything, what we'd like to do here is we'd like to finish out this row, this space right here you see in front of us, with 4 more lagering tanks. It's going to be that exact row just flipped, so it'll be another 180 barrels of lagering there. And then we are working on a larger expansion that I really hope that we'll have done by, if it's done by the first quarter of 2018, I would be really, really excited about. A little bit of it is, a lot of it's not on us. It's, it's going to be the larger section, the part of the brewery you don't see now, which is hidden on the left side of the walls here. Cool thing is we got an additional 41,000 square feet of space that has 40-foot high ceilings. So they're more than double the height of this. So we can put really, really big tanks in without having to go through the roof.
Really, really big fooders.
Yeah. Fooder-wise, we have some ideas and plans on that too. But the goal is we're hoping to take delivery of a 75 hectoliter brew house from Steinecker in Germany. We actually, Steve, our facilities manager, and one of the co-owners, and myself were over in Germany last month. We went to Brau, but we also sat down with Steinecker for over the course of 3 days and hammered out all the details.
Wow.
Like the placement of where all the tanks are going, how much money it's going to cost, all that stuff. So we're just waiting for a couple more details from them, and then we'll go back to the bank and say, hey,
here's what we want to do.
Money.
This is a lot more money than you've ever given us.
Yeah.
So how about that?
So with all the space you have now for all the tanks and everything, how many beers do you typically have on tap at one time?
Right now, there's 24 beers on tap right now. So we have 22 taps on the main board, and then we have 8 taps on the little side draft box.
Wow.
So all the taps on the board, on the main board, are beer except for a water tap. There's a water tap.
That's a good idea.
We use the filtered Neshaminy water. The same water we use to make the beer. We actually just run it right into a keg.
Right.
And we have.
So this is
So
beer.
it's really, really, really green beer.
Yeah, this is beer.
Really green beer
without any malt or hops or yeast.
Yep. 100% charcoal. Activated charcoal filtered water. So
there you go. Nice.
But we had 20. So there's 21 taps in the main, and then right now we have 3 beers on the other box. Plus, we do have now with the law changes here in Pennsylvania, we have Stony Key, the cherry pie cider.
Oh, cool.
We're also carrying Haymaker Meadery. We have their Lenape, the lemon basil mead, and then their brand new strawberry vanilla
Oh,
And then our house wines come from Chatsworth Winery. We have their Proprietor's Reserve White and the Proprietor's Reserve Red are our house wines.
Cool. That's cool. And I know we talked a little bit about all the tanks and stuff, which are behind me that you guys are looking at, but there's also barrels back there.
Yeah.
So
past the fooders and then over into the new space. Right now we have about 600 barrels. A lot. And I mean, there's the stuff you see right directly behind us is stuff that we racked off recently, within the last 3 weeks. A bunch of them just got bugs pitched into them yesterday.
Nice.
So we try, especially this time of year, since we don't have any temperature control in the warehouse next door. Anytime we pitch anything at this time of the year, we'll keep the barrels over here for about a month or two. We'll watch the fermentation going on and monitor that. And then once it slows down, if it slows down even more once it gets over to the other warehouse, that's fine. I kind of like the ebb and flow of what goes on in fermentation barrels and fooders and stuff like that. It happens with the fooders anyway, actually, because of there's no temperature control on those.
Right.
Even even this main area, even though it's warmer throughout the year because of the activity that goes on, we do see the fermentation ebb and flow in the fooders, which goes along with a few other things too. But yeah, we have a lot of wood beers coming coming down the line.
So you have the sours, you do like bourbon barrels.
Yep.
I was curious. Actually, what made me think of it was you mentioned the Chadsford wines. Do you do any wine barrel aging?
So all of our sours are in wine barrels. We're in particular. I'm not looking for wine character.
Right.
We are looking for a good home for Brett and for PDO and Lacto.
Okay.
To live. I mean, we're looking for good homes for those.
Right.
That's not to say we don't get wood or wine character out of some of the barrels, but we do put them through a pretty good cleaning regimen. We hit them with a lot of stuff that's gonna pull that stuff out. But you're not gonna get it all out. You're gonna get a little bit of color, a little bit of flavor.
Mm-hmm.
Certain barrels, depending on where they're coming from and what kind of barrel they are, you will get some oak flavor. We just pulled some of our Fooder Saison, which we're gonna drink, the Logic and Reason.
Yay!
We're gonna drink some of that tonight, but we pulled some of that about this time last year and put it in barrels. And we did 30. We pulled 30 from the Fooder. 30 barrels full, so about 50 gallons roughly into each barrel. And then each barrel had, we broke it off into 10. So 10 had mango, 10 had raspberry, 10 had peaches. And we just pulled samples of those yesterday, and we're really happy where they are right now.
Nice.
So,
I didn't know you guys did any kind of souring program. Have you always done that?
we do a lot.
You're amazing.
We're
You're
just
in for a treat.
we're really low key about it. One of the things that we're a little bottlenecked with it because being that we are known as a clean beer brewery, a lager brewery, those things are things you have to take with precaution.
Yeah.
And we take it pretty seriously, although you wouldn't think that considering there's a giant Fooder next to our centrifuge. That's not going to be there much longer. The centrifuge, their coexistence, their neighbors, being neighbors is not going to be much longer. That's something that we've actually grown over into that space where before they were just there by themselves, and at least there was a good 20 feet, 30 feet between them, and now they're right next to the clean beer tank. So we actually just moved one Fooder over. What we basically are doing is just dropping out beer and doing what we do with it, and then once it's empty, we'll move the Fooder.
Right.
So that's actually the Logic and Reason Fooder, which is all Sack and Brett. And we got about 9 more barrels to go. We're going to pull off some more, do another dry hopping, and then we're probably going to pull some more for barrels. And then once it's empty, we'll move it, and then we'll fill it really quickly.
Right.
But the bottleneck we have right now is that we don't have vessels big enough to transfer out of the barrels in the Fooder that we could do quantity.
Right.
Like right now we have 2 dedicated 3-barrel fermenters that we do it with, which is great because we can do small batch brew blends of the brews in the batches we have. But it doesn't mean we put out a lot of bottles because of it. So like all of our sours and the saisons that we've done so far have been really small, like usually around 400 bottles at the most.
Oh wow!
So, but we're trying to do more and more. We have a couple blends coming up real soon. We have a couple bourbon barrel beers that we're transferring next week that I'm pretty excited about too. So,
Was your plan always to produce such a huge range of beer styles?
I wouldn't say it was like directly in the plan, but the MO or the motto of the brewery has always been brew anything. I definitely gravitate towards. I don't gravitate towards one style of beer. There's definitely I have favorites, but for me it's like really the time of year. Whatever time of year it kind of dictates what kind of beer I want to drink, and then sometimes I just get into a zone, so to speak, where all I'm drinking is sour beer, or all like I was in a weird sour beer zone when my wife was pregnant, but I couldn't do it because I had this weird acid reflux going on that she had.
Sympathy, heartburn.
It totally was. I've never experienced anything like that. I've never had heartburn in my entire life, but the 9 months my wife was pregnant, I had heartburn almost every day.
Wow.
And then as soon as my daughter was born, I stopped having heartburn.
Wow.
So
And
I thought
the
it was.
first thing you did was I can drink sour beer.
I still did. I was then taking lots of antacid
Yeah.
and the Pepsid and stuff like that. But now my daughter's 20 months old and I haven't had to do that since. It's weird.
Wow.
So I don't want my wife to get pregnant again. No, I do, but we want to have another one. But I'm gonna have to.
You got to weigh your
it's either no coffee, no sour beer for 9 10 months.
Child,
So.
I don't
no
know.
coffee.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah, that would do it for me. I could do that.
that.
I think I could handle not having sour beers for a while, but not
But
having
the coffee, no, absolutely not.
I don't know, man.
But yeah, the intention's always been to make a lot of different beer.
Is there anything you won't brew?
I won't say no. Definitely, there's nothing we won't make. I mean, there's certain styles that I'm not attracted to, I guess you'd say. Like, I don't feel the need right now to make quote-unquote New England IPAs. That's, people have their opinions. That's fine. That's just not what I want to do. I'm not going to say we won't make one, but I don't have any intention to. But I never say never. You never know. I mean, maybe I'll change my mind about it. I mean, we already do make some beers that are made in that style, but we're in that direction. And there's parts of that style that I really appreciate, and I think are, things that are good about that style that we want to try to do as well. But I'm not really into beers that look like yeast starters. That's just not my thing. It doesn't. I don't think it makes them juicy beers. I mean, I've had plenty of beers that aren't like that are juicy. That's we gravitate towards that.
Right.
Have you ever done any like one-off batches, like limited releases, or even like just crazy stuff to see if it would work?
Yeah, I mean, we do it all the time. Most of the time, so we have a 1.5 barrel pilot system, which we will use to brew into the 3-barrel fermenters if we're not using them for sour blends and barrel blends. The cool thing about that is that, like, with the clean beer that we would make on the pilot system, if it gets infected in the stainless tanks, it's only 3 barrels. It's not 60 barrels, so we don't worry about it too much. I mean, the chemicals we use in our SOPs are pretty good. We haven't had any cross-contamination or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, we do a lot of stuff that you only see here in the tap room. In fact, Ekimus tonight that we're going to drink started off that way. We brewed it first only on the pilot system. And we did 3 barrels on that. It was here in the tap room, and we only let 3 sixtels off premise at the time. Wow. So I mean, now
cool.
we brewed it twice on the big system for can release only here at the brewery, and then limited the draft off premise. So, but a lot of beers end up that way. Like the white chocolate pumpkin porter last year started off that way. Was just on the we have that right now in the hop rocket with vanilla.
Wait, run that by me again.
Go through all those. White
chocolate pumpkin porter.
A lot going on in that name.
Holy crap!
We have that on tap right now. Plus, we also have it running through the hop rocket with vanilla beans and oak chips.
Oh, that sounds good. Vanilla beans and
I think
oak chips,
Dan's sleeping here tonight.
I'd like to try that one. That sounds good.
It tastes like root beer out of the hop rocket. There's something about the vanilla beans and the oak chips together that gives it and the spices gives it like a root beer flavor. To me,
oh my god,
that sounds tasty.
Well, speaking of styles of beer and crazy beers, what is your process for recipe development? Is it sort of a one-man show? Do you just kind of come up with what you want to do? Is there a collaborative effort?
So all the beers have been my recipe, except for Churchville. The start of that was Rob. Rob actually. Well, so we were asked to do the beer, and then said, "Yeah, we do it." And then before I even actually did a recipe, Rob had come up with something, and Rob gave me, and I was like, "Yeah, I think this is good, but I think you should do this, this, and this." So I'd say probably at this point it's more of like a 50. Where the recipe is now compared to when it was, it's probably less than that. But the first batch was definitely like a 50, maybe 60-40. It's changed. The yeast has changed, weirdly enough. We've won 2 medals with 2 different yeasts in that beer. And my favorite is actually the bronze, but that's just me. So that besides that, all the other beers are mine except for Croydon is Burning, which is another medal winner. And that was, we do, so one of the things we do here at the brewery is with the staff, we do an intra-brewery competition, a homebrew competition. And the winner selected whatever way we selected. Like the first time, it was just myself and the 2 other owners. And the second time, we had Josh Weichert in, Dave Hausman, Andy Hale, and Brian Bryant came in and they judged all the beers, and that was the first competition was a wide open, you can make any style you want. The second one was alt beers only. So the first competition was, like I said, wide open. The winner was so our lab manager Eric Walp, we call him the Meat Man. He's actually the first hired brewer the first person we ever paid to brew beer besides the owners. And then Jason Rank, who unfortunately just left us and is now the head brewer at Second Story. He just replaced.
Yeah, I saw that.
Really?
Breaking news: John Weibel is no longer a Second Story.
Really? I didn't know
what?
that. This is the first I'm hearing that.
I found out about a week ago.
Jay was our lead brewer, in my kindred spirit in rock and roll. He's down there now. It's kind of funny. We still text really often. He's been sending me a bunch of texts, in pictures from down there. But so Jay and Meat had done this beer together. They both being huge smoke beer fans, rock beer fans, and they made the beer. We judged it. It won. We brewed it. So that was the deal. You win, we brew it on the big system. We'll keg it and or bottle it, whatever we end up doing. We'll figure it out. The intention was really only to do a draft of it, but we brewed it, and then about a month, 5 weeks after the brew, I said, I was tasting it, like all the other beers, tasting it in the tank, and before we transferred it to the lagering tank, I said to Jay, I was like, yo, I think I want to put this in J.A.W.N. And he's like, oh, you sure, man? I was like, nah, man. This is a really good beer. This is a really, really good beer. And he's like, oh, man, that'd be so awesome. Are you sure? I'm like, nah, I'm telling you, man. Like, I think this has a legitimate shot. Like, this is a really good beer. And so we kegged it off right before the J.A.W.N. submission and put it on tap here because it has to be commercially available. We're actually bottling it on Monday. I totally forgot to pick up the labels for the bottles today. It's right up the road. But we're going to bottle it on Monday and release the bottles on Thursday of next week. But sure enough, we went to J.A.W.N. with it, and that was, we won a medal. That was the first of the two that were announced this year. So it was, pretty awesome for that to happen. And then, of course, like 3 weeks after, Jay's like, I'm leaving. He's a rock star, the medal winner to his head.
I've won a medal now. I'm moving on.
No, it was a great opportunity for him.
That's
I would
cool.
never blame him for
That's
taking it.
I feel like we should taste that beer right now. Just saying.
That's the next beer
Yeah.
on.
Just
So.
saying.
All right. Well, yeah, I think
Beer
let's
me.
beer
Are
then.
we ready for this?
I think we're ready for this. Award-winning medal at J.A.W.N. It's a smoked lager. Croydon is burning, right?
That's correct.
Oh, man. See, this is another. I didn't know you guys did a smoked lager of any sorts. This
was
one,
the first one. It's not the first smoked bear we did, but it's the first smoked lager that we've done.
But you said this one you're bottling next week.
On Monday. Yep.
Okay, it'll be released just in time for Christmas, which listeners will have to go back in time for. Is it like a limited release, or are you going to keep bottling it or canning it or anything?
Better keep making this.
We're definitely going to keep making it. I mean, until it doesn't win a medal again. No, I mean, you make a beer, and if it wins a medal, you always got to do it. You got to press your luck the second year.
This is really good.
This is.
I feel like I'm in Bamberger.
Holy crap!
Fantastic.
I love this beer.
What I really like about it is it's beautifully smoky, and it's got that nice character to it, but it's got like this subtle sweetness in the back.
Yeah,
just
that
a little
really
bit.
like rounds it out very nicely. Yeah,
It makes it surprisingly drinkable for a Rauch beer.
Yeah, because honestly, the first time I had any smoked beer, you gave me Schlenkerla. I didn't know what
Which
in
is
that.
freaking perfection.
that's like
I didn't
diving
know-
into the tea pen. Man.
Yeah,
I mean, this is still. I mean, it's a very smoky beer, but I think the thing I like about this beer the most is that it's still balanced. It's a pretty balanced beer. Like the malt character is not lost. The crispness and the cleanness of the beer is still not lost.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. The finish.
It is.
Yeah.
Like you get the smoke that
It's
you
nice
want,
and
but
creamy.
the end of the beer,
Yeah.
that's when you're like, wow, this is delicious.
It doesn't linger. It's not. Yeah, like
I'm not a
super-
sage or anything like that, but I mean, 4 or 5 weeks in the tank, I said to Jay, and I was like, yo, this is a really good beer. I really, really like this beer. I think it almost took Jay at least like a month or so for him to realize, like, yeah, dude, I'm dead serious. We're gonna enter this in the J.A.W.N. I mean, I'm obviously really happy we did.
Yeah.
Did you say which medal it won?
It won a bronze.
Bronze.
So in the smoked beer category.
So you said this is coming out in bottles this week. Take a moment to talk about your branding, because I mean, when you're walking through Acme or whatever bottle shop you're in, your cans and bottles, they stick out. You
Most
know
definitely.
it's Neshaminy
Yeah,
Creek
they do.
Brewing.
We got really, I won't say extremely lucky. I mean, JP Flexner is the guy that does our artwork. I've known JP since before the brewery started. actually from the music side of things and playing in bands and running a record label. I had JP do some artwork for a bunch of records prior to the brewery, and I always loved his work. And we actually had started off in a different direction branding wise for our core brands, and then when we started making some seasonals, we thought to ourselves like, well, it'd be great to have a different feel to the seasonal beers than the core brands. So we asked JP to do the artwork. I feel like the Hefeweizen was the first one when it was still a seasonal, although it might go back to being seasonal. We asked JP like, hey, can you do some artwork for us and whatnot, and then he gave us the artwork, and I was like, oh man, this is so good. We gotta go with we gotta use this for the rest of our artwork. And actually, originally, some of the stuff he had done was not illustrated. And I think he was maybe hesitant, or he felt like he was, we wouldn't like his illustrated artwork. And I said, no, man, like, do some illustration. I'm super into the stuff you do. In the style, it's got more of that retro, like, Robert Williams type, artwork, comic book stuff, and whatnot. And so we just, started going off, on doing some designs. And part of it too is like we're definitely on the same page when it comes to the ideas most of the time. If I have an idea in my head, like for example, the county line artwork was 100% my idea. As I had this weird thought in my head, like, hey, it'd be really cool because like what are the two dominant forces in American West Coast IPAs are pine and citrus, and it'd be awesome to have like oranges throwing hop grenades, so to speak, at pine trees throwing hop grenades. And that was the visual I had in my head, and JP hit it right on the head.
Nice.
Like 100% on the nose.
I'm showing the guys one of my personal favorite is Beast Infection.
Yeah.
Kind of reminds me of the Necronomicon.
We have some more of that coming out. It's been 2 years.
It's a great beer,
Wow.
but the freaking label is...
Yeah, and it is
The artwork
like
is
Steph
awesome.
had mentioned, having not only just having one artist doing all of the label art, but having one artist that has such a strong individual style.
Oh, yeah. You know
see
it.
those cans, you
Totally.
see those labels,
And JP also did a few things that, in retrospect, we never, I'm not a marketing guy. I'm not, I'm just like, hey, that's cool. That looks good. Yeah, that's sweet. Like, kick ass, do it. But there's things that were brought up to
it
me.
needs
like,
more flames. That's all.
and JP's not like that either. I mean, maybe he is, and maybe it's a subconscious thing, but it's never a discussion we ever had, and not even since then. We've actually had conversations since then, but it was like, hey, you did this differently. You need to go back to doing it the other way because this is why.
Right.
And he was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But it was not because I knew that. It's because someone told me that. It's like, for example, like on the cans, you have the reoccurring, like what we call the shield logo. You have like the little polygon, around the logo, and it's perfectly placed at a height that if the cans are in a tray, you see the logo.
Oh, right, okay.
I didn't think about that when he made it.
Right.
It's just like, yeah, that looks cool. Do it, and then it fit in the trays, and so that helps. It's and that's something that like much more seasoned, at least on sales wise. A person in beer mentioned to me, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, dude, that makes sense. And then other things like our branding, like between the logo and also the names of the beers. I wouldn't call it a typeface because that's JP's actual. He draws that. It's hand-drawn, lettering and whatnot for the names. But all those things are also forward-facing. They're not separated. There's a few other like new guys out there with cans where everyone wants to use the whole, and we want to use the whole space on the can too. But like, it's on the side, and so the name of the beer is here, but the logo's over here or like that.
Right.
So it's not centered facing.
You can't see all the info from one.
Like
angle.
if you put it on a shelf, you have all the info in front of you.
Or
Whereas this,
someone's
you have
trying to
different
take a
cans.
damn picture of the can.
Right, exactly, yeah.
And those are things I definitely didn't think about either. It wasn't a conscientious decision. It's just something that JP did. So we got lucky. We didn't screw that up. I mean, even if we had screwed up, I think the artwork still would have looked really cool.
Yeah,
but those are small little marketing things that clicked with us later that we realized that we'd gotten that right.
Yeah. Well, and I think because like even if you're not consciously thinking about those aspects of the artwork, I think if you have sort of a natural sense of design, that's just part of it anyway. Like that subconscious, like the function as well as
totally.
the form.
I mean,
it's just sort of part of the knack.
There's an aesthetic that obviously the branding has, and it's definitely an extension of JP, and it's definitely an extension of my insanity in my head. Some of the ideas, and then sometimes it's I'll flat out tell JP like I don't have any idea for this, just rip it. Like Churchville Lager. That's actually so the little devils and the demons that are on it is a band. It's actually this band called Aspiga. They're from New Jersey. The one I actually have to look at the can myself.
Yeah, it's right over there.
So the little guy on the bottom right-hand corner, that's actually our HR and office manager, Kevin. That's his band, though. So, like, the drummer is Ray, the half-naked angel in the right-hand corner, and then the guy with the glasses is Alec, the bass player, the one that's puking. You know, there was a reoccurring theme of puke. If you look at a lot of our cans, like the puking pumpkin, or like there's always like the orange is puking on something, you know. So I had to tell JP at one point, like, hey, just calm down a little bit.
Yeah,
slow down on the vomit.
You want to lighten up on that a little
Weirdly
bit.
enough, the TTB has never.
I was just going to say,
never
I'm
had
surprised
an
you didn't have an
objection.
issue with that. Yeah, with the association.
Well, if grape date whatever.
Yeah, but you know what's funny is that you could name a beer like misogyny porter, and it's fine. But as soon as
or
you
a polygamy porter.
yeah,
There you go.
polygamy porter. But as soon as you name it, this beer will get you drunk, then that's not allowed.
Or actually, a good one would be you see the surfing banana guy in the right hand corner on
Yes.
the front wall. That he was originally on the Highwater Hefeweizen can artwork, and we had to take it off because the TTB said that the illusion of a comic cartoon banana surfing on our artwork may give consumers the idea that there's banana in the beer. So we had
there's banana. There could be banana flavors and
flavor,
aromas.
like-
well, there is. I
Come
mean,
on.
there definitely is. I mean, the
Come on.
compound that gives bananas their flavor is the same compound that's produced by the yeast. So technically, in a microscopic fungi way, but we had to take him off the can because it might give consumers the wrong idea. So weird little things like that, But the TTB does what they do, and I mean, I've had funny things happen where like I've forgotten to put a semicolon after the government warning part. It's supposed to say government warning semicolon, or not semicolon, colon. Mm-hmm. And I've definitely, if you look at a bunch of our artwork, there's the colon's missing. And then it wasn't until about like maybe 8 labels later, they flagged it and said, hey, there's no colon on the government warning. And I went back and I was like, I looked at it and I was like, wait. And all I was doing is I was copying the government warning from other ones and then changing the colors.
Right, yeah.
So they had missed it for about 8, 9 labels.
Wow.
Weird things
Finally
like that.
picked it up. Yeah.
Just they did it. That happened also on our keg collar. There was something missing. The wording on the keg collar wasn't exactly, and it was probably at least 50 keg collars later. They're like, hey, you need to change this.
Yeah. I did a T-shirt design. Remember when the Barley Mow had that T-shirt design contest?
Oh, yeah.
And I did a design which was like a keg collar, but for the Barley Mow, for like the T-shirt design. And it was amazing. Like I actually looked up like what it needs to legally say, and it's just amazing. Like this very specific. Like this is exactly what it needs to be.
It's not even necessarily. I mean, it is that, but it's also things like the height of the font has to be specific. It can be no minimum than this. Things of that nature. Things that you would never
weird
think.
things like that. I did some work, and I had to use the MPAA, the motion picture ratings. And like for like the PG-13 block, and they're so
Same
specific,
thing.
like the font and the point size of the font, and how like it has to be left aligned, not justified, and all this like crazy.
I mean, even to the point where like you don't have to put the ABV on a label, but if you do it, it has to say it a specific way.
Right? Yeah.
Are there still states where it's illegal to put the ABV on the label?
I don't think so.
Or they all have to
I
have
know
it
that
now? Wasn't
changed
there
in
was
the
a time.
90s.
There was a
Like the
time when they weren't allowed to
you
put
weren't
the ABV
allowed
on.
to, because it was sort of like you were advertising. Again, it comes back to you're not allowed to advertise.
I mean, I know in
the
Pennsylvania you don't have to
intoxicating.
have the ABV on the label.
Yeah.
Oh,
Interesting.
No.
I figured you did.
No.
I think it's the other way around because you used to not be allowed.
I'm sorry,
to.
but if it's my first time having a Mad Elf and you don't tell me what the ABV
oh my
is,
god, yeah, like you need to.
No, I mean, Pennsylvania follows suit with the federal government. You have to submit a copy of the COLA, of the label registration, the federal label registration with your label.
Yeah.
I mean, if it is required, I've never, I mean, every single one of our collars don't have.
Yeah. Well, I've
but
had
don't
plenty
forget
of
the
beers.
colon.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't
But if you're free to get a colon after government warning, it's
I mean, I've had
definitely
plenty
wrong.
of bottles and cans of beers that don't have it
Yeah,
because
it's not
I've looked
required.
and I'm like, oh, I don't know what this is, so I have to look it up online to find out what.
But
it
if
is.
you do say the alcohol, it has to say it a specific way.
way, you can't just say lots.
Lots. Speaking of alcohol, what's this?
Yeah, the next one, I've been eyeing this one up. This is the one, before we started recording, you said you had a couple of today already.
This is the
right?
Taman and Hellas.
Okay. Yeah.
This is only the second batch and the second time we've released this beer.
Now we're going to Bavaria.
Yes, we are.
We're
We're taking a tour.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Ooh.
That's really good.
This is a crusher. I love this beer.
Yeah.
I'm really happy with this one, too, because I was happy with the first batch, but it was a little hoppier than we wanted. We were getting a little bit more late kettle utilization out of our hops than we wanted. Mm-hmm. So we backed off on that, and this came out exactly the way we wanted to come out.
Nice.
So, It's got the malt character, the little sweetness up front, but it's not cloying. It finishes nice and dry.
Yeah.
It's got that cracker character, the malt character, a little bit of touch of hops. It's not overly hoppy though. Super easy to drink, 5%. We're gonna this year, well, next year anyway. We're gonna release this April through October or April through September in draft only. So
in liters, I hope.
we do liters here. If you order a beer here with the code words,
the code words.
Give me the liter.
No,
Give
sort
me
of
the
like
liter.
if you've been to In-N-Out Burger, and you say,
take me.
Don't
Animal style?
No, you have to
It's
say,
not
take me
animal
to your
style.
leader.
I see what you did there.
No, it's not animal style, but it's a variation.
We're not going to tell he doesn't want to tell the internet.
If you know, well, no, you have to find out. It's not hard. If you know though, and you go up and you order it that way, you'll get that beer. It's only the lagers, any of the lagers. So Churchville, Trauger, or anything lager we have on tap. They'll give you a full liter. We have the Mosses underneath the bar, and you get more than 2 beers for the price of 2 beers. So it's
nice.
It'd be like an $8 or the $8 or $10 fill, but you're getting a little bit more than you would if you bought 2 beers.
2 of them. Nice.
I really like this beer a lot. Like you said, the sweetness it's not overpowering. You get some of the hoppiness. It's not overpowering. It's there, and it's clean, and it's crisp, and it's refreshing, and I think it's like a spring and summer release is going to be perfect for this.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it'd be, some people might say it's kind of weird to release it in December, and then, but for me, I drink it all the time anyway.
Yeah.
And the other side, too, is like we'll do a 30-barrel tank of it, and, I mean, we just shipped some to Bella Vista today, so that means we did a 30-barrel tank. We got 42 halves and 30 sixels out of it, and they took 10 sixels and 24 halves, so it's almost already, we're going to send some to New Jersey, get people ready for it, for the spring, but it's basically gone already. So
how far is your distribution
I was just
at this
going to
point?
ask that.
right now it's all Pennsylvania, all of New Jersey, all of Delaware, and then we have Eastern New York, the Hudson Valley, the 5 boroughs, and Long Island.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
We're getting out there. We're working on more. We generally don't enter a market without putting a rep in market because it doesn't make sense for us.
Yeah.
We don't. That's just sort of the way we are.
And you said you've been open for 4 years?
June 1st was 4 years.
That's an impressive footprint after 4 years.
It's a good amount. Yeah. I mean,
that's nice.
We don't have any giant grand plans of being like a region. I mean, a national brand or anything like that. We do see ourselves as maybe like hopefully a regional brewery in 5 to 6, maybe 7 states.
Right.
We already are working on Maryland, D.C., and the rest of New York. But I mean, past that, I don't see us go. We don't want to be too far away from home. We want to work on selling more beer in Pennsylvania because there's still not a lot of places where we feel like you should be able to find the beer.
Right.
There's a weird 5-county gap in the middle of Pennsylvania that isn't filled. So technically, we're not completely sold in the entire state.
But to be fair, I think there's 5 counties in the middle of Pennsylvania where there's just nothing.
Yeah,
at all.
Yeah, that's true.
Out of those 5 counties, there's at least
It's
2
just
of
trees
them.
and
Yeah.
cows.
Cows.
Elk.
Yeah, and elk and deer.
Well, there's elk in Elk County, and there's still Straub in Elk County. So
Yeah.
True.
they're a legacy brewery. So
Do you mostly distribute, is it cans or kegs or both?
right now
of
we're at
those?
72% cans, packaged beer, and then the remainder, the 28%, is made up with draft. Every market's different. I mean, right now, like for example, New Jersey is more cans than draft. Southeastern PA, like Philadelphia area, is more draft than cans. But like it's the, I only know these numbers because I literally was looking at them, going through all of them right before you guys. It's the end of the year, so we're going over our numbers and seeing, what our guys, and girls are doing out in the market as far as sales. But I mean, the difference between the suburbs versus the city is, for example, we do our cans, our sales in the suburbs are 66% of our sales, whereas in the city it's only 35% of our sales.
Right.
So we're 65% draft in the city. So it's almost a flip flop.
Right, almost like the exact mirror.
Exactly,
Yeah,
and it makes
something
sense.
like that.
You have more on-premise locations to drink in the city. You have a lot more wholesalers and takeout.
Out in the burbs.
Plus you have a lot more now, especially with all the grocery store chains selling beer. A lot more of those in the burbs than you have in the city as well. So it makes sense.
Yeah. So we talked briefly earlier about taking a tour of Germany, and you had mentioned something about a collaboration with the continent of Europe
Well
or something.
done. It's like you've done this
That's a
earlier.
good segue there.
Yeah.
It's like you guys have been doing this for a while.
Yeah.
Actually, so when we went over, myself and Rob went over for our first meetings with Kronos and Steinecker in April. We had a few days off before we went camping in Belgium. And so we went up to Berlin, and then we went to Hamburg. And so Andy from Steinecker was like, hey, if you're going to be up in that area, you really need to go to this brewery in Hamburg named Ratsherrn. And didn't know it at the time. Ian, the head brewer at Ratsherrn, is actually from Glenside and was a brewer at Sam Adams. So like, boom, there you go. Pretty easy connection.
Yeah.
So we went there, and I mean, to be honest, I've been to a couple breweries in Germany. I wasn't expecting to walk into a legitimate, I don't want to say legitimate, but a full-blown craft brewery in Germany. Mm-hmm. It made sense to me that it was in northern Germany, not in Munich.
Of course, you're not going to find it in Bavaria.
You will. Actually, it's weird. There's a lot more going on than you would think in Bavaria right now.
Really?
Like, so when we were in Nuremberg on this last trip, we were there for Brau. There's breweries in Nuremberg now too, and actually we have a friend that's about to start. Well, they actually just filed all their paperwork to do. They're going to be contract brewing, but they're doing American style craft beer. Plus, they're also. I had a sample of it, and it was. I'll be honest, it kind of blew me away. It was an alcohol-free IPA.
Wow.
It was crazy good.
Is that possible?
It is possible. He will not tell me.
Last time
how
I was
it's made
in Germany, was it 2012, 2013? And we spent some time in Berlin, and the craft beer thing was just starting around.
Berlin's
then.
crazy right now.
But it is. It's exploded.
I mean, it's been exploding. The first time I went to Berlin was in '98, and so much has changed obviously since then. But like even now, beer wise, it's crazy. So on that trip in April, Rob and I, before we got to Ratsherrn, we went to Berlin for a couple of days. Right before Berlin outlawed Airbnb. It was literally like a week or two before that. We were lucky to get a really awesome Airbnb for like almost nothing for 4 guys. But then we almost were able to tour. It was before Stone Berlin had opened, but because of the guys at Steinecker and Krohn's, they almost got us in. It was like a communication thing. We were just back and forth on email. It didn't work out. But we ended up going to 4 different spots just in Berlin. We did a little bit of the tourist thing because 2 of the guys, actually, all 3 of the other guys hadn't been in Berlin before, so we did some tourist stuff, and then, we just started ripping through, places. Like went to a couple like in Ostkreuz. We went to a place called Strassebrau, which was right around the corner from a place called Hops and Barley, and then we went to Vagabund, which is in Wedding, which was basically in the neighborhood we were staying in. Really close, which was awesome because I get really drunk and my German gets really, really good when I'm drunk.
Funny how that works.
Well, my German's actually not that bad, but it's like any apprehension goes away instantly when I have a few beers.
No,
so anyway, on the trip in April, we were up in northern Germany. We went from Andy from Steinecker's suggestion, went to Ratsherrn and met Ian, who used to work at Sam Adams. Of course, like I said, he's from Glenside. So we started talking some ideas, and not at that trip, but like later on, like I said, hey man, it'd be really cool if, are you planning any trips to come back to Glenside? Because we're only a half hour from Glenside, 35 minutes. And he's like, yeah, I'm coming over, for Christmas to see my parents. So I was like, well, let's do it. Would you be into doing collaboration? He's like, yeah, man, let's do it. So he actually he's coming back next Friday, but he's going to be here until the 8th, and we're going to brew on the 30th and the 31st. We're doing a really old style of beer called Hamburger Weiss. So it's very similar to a Berliner Weiss, but there's no wheat in it. It's all malted oats in Vienna malt. And we're doing it a little bit different than the way he's done it in Germany because he has the benefit of having a Lacto reactor. Because they brew according
that's the most badass sounding thing ever.
It is.
I have a Lacto
I'll tell you what, actually, when we walked into the brew house at Ratsherrn and I smelled it immediately because Lacto has a really definitive and distinctive smell. We walked into the brew house and I was like, what? I asked him, I was like, you guys have like Lacto or something like that going on here? He's like, yeah, that's our Lacto reactor. And I didn't ask him. It just clicked with me instantly.
Is that the house band? Lacto reactor?
Well, it clicked with me pretty quickly because it's against the Reinheitsgebot to use any brewing salts. So for them to adjust their mash pH, they use acidified wort. That's
right.
bacteria is fine because it's natural. It's in the malt.
Right.
So they just pump wort into it to have acidified malt.
Right.
Acidified wort to then adjust their pH in their mashes without. So it's cheating, but it's not cheating.
Yeah. That's an interesting little workaround.
So they can do a Hamburger Weiss really easily because they have a Lacto reactor. We don't have that. Right. So we are going to do a kettle sour version of it here, which is essentially what a Lacto Reactor is outside of. It's just a continual kettle sour.
You need to put that on your wish list.
I wouldn't mind
Maybe
it. Maybe
2019 expansion. Adding
we
a
could probably
Lacto
convert a
reactor.
tank here to a Lacto Reactor. We can figure it out. But it's going to be 60% malted oats, 40% Vienna malt. We're going to do. There's only going to be hops in the mash. We're going to do half the hopping is going to be in the mash. It's going to be whole leaf Hallertau Blanc. And then we're going to use. We're not going to boil it all. We are going to pasteurize it though. We're going to transfer over to wort, do our kettle sour that way. We've had a lot of success with kettle sours here. I feel like we can do them really well without having any side effects or bed off flavors and problems. And then we're going to raise the temperature up to about 195 degrees to kill anything off in it. That way, when we're putting it through a heat exchanger, we're not putting lacto through a heat exchanger. We're going to do a light hopping in the whirlpool with Mandarina Bavaria, and then we're going to ferment with our house ale yeast. And then the idea is to do a bunch of crazy shit with it. Since we have the small bright tanks and the small fermenters, we're probably going to draw some off of the 15 and just do a straight a 3-barrel batch, carbonate it, keg it. It'll be available. We're probably then going to also take 3 barrels and put it in one of the small 3-barrel fermenters and then dry hop it. We are going to dry hop it. And then we're also going to take a bunch and put it in barrels. We're going to bread it, and then we're going to fruit it, and then we're going to pull it out later on and do probably more dry hopping on it. So there'll be actually 3 variations of a beer that actually had, originally was being made in Hamburg, prior to it too, but was probably stopped being made in Hamburg about 150 years ago, and whatnot. So it's, it's kind of funny and weird that it fits really well into American craft brewing and what Americans are doing right now.
Right. Yeah.
So, but they cheated with lacto. We had to do a kettle sour. So, we don't have to do a kettle sour, but that's an easy way for us to get some results out of it without messing up the rest of the brewery.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
That should be pretty cool. When do you think that'll be on?
Because it's a kettle sour and because it's only going to knock out about 11 Plato, 11 and a half Plato, it'll ferment real quick. The base beer, the main undry hopped or unbarrel aged and barrel fermented version of it, will probably be available end of January at the latest. It'll probably, knowing Cal Ale, it'll crush through 11 and a half, 12 Plato in 3 days.
Right.
It'll be done in 3 and 4 days at the most.
Wow.
So we could probably get it. In fact, we could probably have the dry hop version and the regular version back to back, side by side rather, pretty quickly by the end of January. And then the barrel aged version, the barrel fermented, all secondary stuff that that will take a little bit longer.
That's pretty cool.
That's cool.
Awesome. Nice quick turnaround.
Yeah, I'm excited, and we're going to do something. We're going to go back over to Germany in April. Well, maybe not April, but sometime in the spring. I unfortunately had to go to Germany 3 times this year. I'm bragging a little bit there now. I had to do a couple trips over, but that's one of them. So
It's purely to work on your German.
Yeah.
Well,
actually, that's not the first collaboration with a German brewery we've done in the last month. We just did another collaboration with Sebastian from Freigeist. He was here, about 3 weeks ago, and we did an Atom beer. I don't know if you're familiar with that style at all. I'm not that I'm somewhat. If you know the Hair of the Dog's Atom, that's probably the first American Atom beer. Atom beer is very similar to alt beer. Think of a shtick of alt, super high gravity, really high gravity, usually 9-10%. But they're barrel conditioned or aged, so they have Brett character. So we did a full. That was the first decoction mash we've ever done in Neshaminy Creek.
Oh, really?
Which went really well. We've done a turbid mash, a full turbid mash lambic for the fooders, but we've never done a decoction mash. But we did that with Sebastian, and came out really well. We're gonna do another decoction. We have a bunch of decoction matches coming up now. Not that I didn't think we could do them, but it's just one of those things we just kind of
never had.
Just never did it. But there was always ideas and plans to do it. We are. For this year's Philly Beer Scene Awards, we're going to do an all Pennsylvania malt version of Churchville Lager, and we're going to do a decoction mash on that. That's the idea anyway right now. I don't want to do anything crazy or fancy. Well, not that's not crazy or fancy, but I want to do something. I want to do something all Pennsylvania. I doubt we'll be able to do the hop side of that, but it's going to be all Pennsylvania malt for that. And we're going to do a full decoction on that one as well. But yeah, we've been pretty quiet about our collaboration. We've actually done a lot lately.
Yeah.
We have one we did during CBC with the guys from Against the Grain that we're going to debut really soon. It's a Belgian quad. Half of it is in Jack Daniel's rye barrels right now.
Whoa.
The other half is kegged and sitting in our cold box. And the idea was to make it a little bit like an old fashioned in that direction. And so we used we toned down the amount of hop that we use in it. We also, because it's a Belgian beer with the spices and whatnot, we used orange peel in the boil, but then we also bittered it with orange bitters, which is pretty cool.
Interesting.
If you've ever messed around with orange bitters, it's a delicate process because they're very strong, both in aroma and bitterness. So we want to have a lot of the orange aroma
drop.
But we literally Jay and I had 5 different glasses, and we're like taking
little pipettes,
and like, well, that's too much, or that's too much. Or, like, this is a 1 to 200. This is and we figured it out, and then that's how we ended up dosing the bitters in that beer. So, and then we had the rest in rye barrels, and we've just been really quiet about all of our collabs.
Holy mackerel, you've been busy.
There's a lot going on.
We just do it.
There's another beer that we're passing around now.
Speaking of things we have to do.
Things we have to do. Oh, darn. We have to drink a beer.
Economist.
Economist,
not economist.
Economist, but not an economist. Not an economist.
I don't know why.
Not something you need a PhD for.
This is why I don't introduce.
Hey, my brother with a PhD reads that.
Hey,
that's funny.
This smells awesome. So double IPA, 8.3%. Where'd the name come from?
It's a misspelled anagram of Simcoe. I mean, technically, an anagram can be any spelling, but it's an anagram of Simcoe, but the O and the E are reversed. Because the first time I had written it backwards, that was a name. And then the second time I did, I exchanged or changed the order of the O and E, and then it was just like, okay, that's fine. We'll just keep it there.
Interesting.
I was and actually the background of that is that, so this is my take personally. Like my favorite IPA, hands down ever, is Simcoe City by Pizza Port in Solana Beach. If you haven't had that beer, you need to make a mecca.
Nope. I'm a huge fan of Simcoe.
I'll
myself.
work on that. We'll record at Port.
Yeah.
Road trip.
They make that. I'm almost certain that they make that at the other locations, the other Pizza Port locations. Solana Beach being the first location, the first Pizza Port location. But I've had it the most there. I've been really lucky.
I've had it the most there. I love it.
For some reason, I've been to that location more than others. I've been to San Diego pretty often because my best friend went to school there, and then I got married there, so I ended up, an excuse to go out and visit him.
Yes.
Not that you need an excuse to go to San Diego, but
no.
Actually, when he got married, my hotel, weirdly enough, it wasn't planned this way. My wife actually booked the hotel, but it was less than a mile from the Solana Beach Pizza Port. So I was like, all right, well then let's go.
Well, then I guess we kind of have to.
You have to. When in Rome.
So, but this is a double IPA interpretation of that beer.
Nice.
Simcoe Forward, Super Simcoe Forward, made in a more West Coast style. Although the hopping on this is more, it's definitely not a New England IPA, but as far as the way traditional West Coast IPAs are made, this is more towards an East Coast side. This is all late kettle.
Right.
All the hops in this beer are in the kettle, except for a small first wort hopping. All the hops in this beer are 30 minutes or later. So there's not a massive, big bittering charge right at boil, and then it's a 9-minute boil. But for the first, the first 60 minutes, there's nothing in the kettle at all except for first wort hopping. So, but it's all Simcoe pretty much. I mean, there's some. I don't remember what else is in this. I can't remember.
The Simcoe is definitely the shining star.
Yeah,
it is. It's awesome.
I mean, the last three, it's like there may not be hops until the the 30th minute, but it's Simcoe.
Simcoe's is how it should be.
Yeah,
and it would be great with pizza. Just saying.
Yeah,
this would be really great with
so
pizza.
it is the perfect nod to Pizza Port.
And you wouldn't know it, but it's 9%. It drinks.
Yeah, you wouldn't know it.
I mean, at least I feel like you don't notice.
No, not at all.
Like
it's got like a slightly warm.
You feel the warming a little bit, yeah. But the funny thing is like, the one double IPA that everyone, if they know us, I think know us by is the Shape of Hops to Come.
Yeah.
And this beer, at least to me, this beer compared to Shape, it's got a 0.5% higher in alcohol, and it's not even close to how hot. Shape to me is really hot.
It's super, yeah.
I mean, it's not a hot fermentation. It's just that there's just something about that malt profile and those hops together that make the alcohol stick out more than that. Where this, that isn't the case.
It's much more covered up.
Yeah, much more covered up. I don't know what it is.
It's very good.
It is really good.
Yeah.
I was trying to not drink it so fast because I wanted to have it during the game. But
There was 10 cases left I think as of doors open on Wednesday, I don't know how much are left now, but we're not making it again until May.
wow.
This year, so
Wow.
this is one along with a Good Problem to Have, which is a double IPA, Dank Hill, which is our wheat double IPA, and then this year we're doing Blitzkrieg Hops, which is an English style double IPA. We're going to do it in the same format where we do them once a month and rotate them.
Right.
Because of hop contracts and production, it just makes sense for us to do that. But yeah, we won't make this one again until May of next year.
It's delicious, and you're right. You wouldn't peg it
Vomiting.
at 9%. But I think, Steph, you kind of alluded to it. You don't want to drink this one too quick because we should say, well, one, it's 9%, but two, we have a game we have to play, and I want to sip on this while we go through that. So, Wayne, what do we have today?
Well, cheers once again, the internet, and welcome to Happy Fun Time Games, the only podcast trivia segment that is available for free shipping anywhere in the Alpha Quadrant.
God.
For today's game, I've returned to
Is that a
peruse...
Star Trek reference?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man.
Of course it is. For today's game, I've returned to peruse the postings at mybeerseller.com, a website on which overzealous beer collectors offer up for sale their wares to naive hipsters that have more money than is good for them. A reminder...
Or they're spending their parents'
I totally lost that.
That's quite all right. So it's a website where people sell a bottle of beer
Oh, okay.
to each other, a la like eBay, but it's beer. But a reminder, for legal reasons, all the items bought and sold at mybeerseller.com are for collectible purposes.
So they have to be empty cans and bottles.
No. When paying far too much money for a bottle of beer, you are purchasing the bottle, not the liquid inside, which is incidental and not intended for consumption.
I'd like to see the postmaster inspector challenge that one.
There's
For some reason, I have a feeling that's not going to stick to any legal definition.
They have a whole list of these caveats and rules that when you sell bottles of beer.
Well,
on
like
this
wasn't it
website,
like after
yeah.
like eBay stopped
well,
beer
people were
sales?
selling like Heady Topper on eBay.
But they were
That
saying-
woman got arrested.
But
Yeah,
they,
yeah,
well,
it was a whole-
people were selling like beer on eBay, but then eBay cut it off, and then people were trying to get around it by just selling. They were claiming empty cans,
but yeah.
of beer.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. But anyway, so this website where you can buy all sorts of beers, many of them at ridiculous prices. So for today's game, I will relay to you listings from this site, and you must guess the selling price.
Is this closest, or you
The
can't go over?
closest without going over
Oh, shit.
It's like that Price is Right.
wins the
$1,
point.
$1.
And is appropriately crowned the Slice of Might. We begin, as always,
Crap.
to my left, and our first beer is 2010 Goose Island Bourbon County Rare.
Before
one.
the infections.
Yeah, exactly. The one and only 2010 Goose Island
Was that
Bourbon
already
County
6 years
Rare.
ago?
Yep.
22-ounce bottle, caps lock, exclamation point. This is bottle number 4,527, but without the box. And it can be yours for how much, Dan?
All right. 2010, 22-ounce rare.
No box.
No box.
Specifically, bottle number 4,520.
How many total bottles?
I don't know.
So that affects the price.
That's a good question, but I don't know.
I will say $1,200.
Dan is
Man,
saying
that's so much higher than I would have thought.
That's way higher than I was thinking.
$100. Steph, what do you think?
I was going to say $129.
Steph is saying $129. And finally, Jeremy?
I would say $299.
$299, which makes Jeremy the closest because the asking price is $320.
I was originally going to say $250, but whatever.
Well, either way, you would have
I
won.
didn't need to be a smart ass and say $299. Because there's always a one person on the price.
Dan
like
went real high,
$199.
real fast. A little bit over the mark, but that's
That's how I
okay. We are moving on, and Steph is going to guess first on this one, and this is a 2015 Westbrook barrel-aged Pappy Mexican cake.
Oh,
An extremely rare...
Is this how much it's on there, or how much Kevin Keller would pay for it?
Well, both. An extremely rare 22-ounce bottle of Westbrook Brewing Company's Mexican Cake Imperial Stout, a beer which was originally brewed in 2012 to celebrate the brewery's first birthday. This 2015 vintage is aged in Pappy Van Winkle barrels and can be yours for the low, low price of...
You don't know how many bottles there were, do you?
I do not. At least one.
$2.79.
Steph is saying
$99.
$279.99.
Yep.
Jeremy, what do you think?
Pappy Van Winkle bottles are so expensive.
Yeah.
It's really hard to get in the first
Exactly.
place. And I know as a brewer who's tried to get Pappy barrels, you got to know someone that knows someone. I'm going to say $4.99.
All right, Jeremy's saying $4.99. Would you like to add 99 cents to that?
Nah.
All right, $4.99 straight. Dan, what do you think?
$2.79, $4.99,
Those are the answers so far.
$3.75.
Dan is saying $3.75.
I'll respect you guys that nobody's screwing anyone, by the way. Thank you for that.
$500.
That's
Yeah,
true.
That's what I was waiting for.
Jeremy is the closest.
Holy shit.
Though not very close because it's $899.
I was thinking 600 to begin with, but I didn't want to say that.
And 99 cents.
I thought you were trying to get me to say 99, so it was over 500, and then I would be over.
All right, moving on back around
Some
to
gambler's fallacy in there.
Jeremy's going to guess first on our next one, and this one is Sam Adams Triple Bock 1997. A bottle of 1997 vintage Sam Adams Triple Bock, the last vintage that was ever produced. Brewed with maple syrup and aged several months in oak whiskey barrels. At the time, it was considered the world's strongest beer. And it can be yours
My, how far we've come.
for the low, low price of.
I'm going to say $1,200.
All right, Jeremy's saying $1,200. Dan, what do you think?
I will say $9.78.
Damn.
$900.
I'll say $200. I think they're way high.
$200 said Steph. On the right track. Everyone is over.
Wow. Oh, shit.
I should have
So
said
we
$1.
start the bidding again.
I was going with your lead, Jeremy.
with Jeremy.
I'm surprised.
Give
at
me
that.
another
I
number.
would figure if those other bottles are going for that, a bottle of that. But then again, you don't know the quantity of bottles made?
I do not.
I didn't think it'd be that much until you said it was the last one ever.
All right, so
Yeah, it was the last time it was made.
I'm going to say $1.
All right, Jeremy's saying
I'm going the price is right.
$1.
You're
But
both going to go over.
if you're the first bidder, it doesn't
You're
really
gonna say
work.
2 and I'll
then
say
it'll
3.
Yeah, but if you're over and you're over, what if you're over?
Wait, the only way you win is if it is $1.
That's what.
All right, I'll throw you a bone. $100.
All right, Dan is saying $100. Okay, being sportsmanlike.
I'll
and
say
$2.
$129.
$121 or $1.29?
$129.
$129.
I didn't want to say 101. I didn't want to be that bitch.
Well, Jeremy still wins it because the asking price is $30.
Ah, see?
Wow.
Shit.
You were both over. It worked.
It did.
That's
in
because we're
fact
nice
work.
and we didn't do 2-3.
Despite all logic and reason, it worked. Moving on, and we're going to swing back to Dan to
Oh,
guess
yay.
first on this one. And this is interesting because this is a Cigar City Hunapoo vertical series.
Ooh.
Make someone's Christmas with this awesome set, or be the envy of all your bros in your man cave. All bottles are unopened and cellared in a dark, dry
Is this an actual
place.
Craigslist listing? Or from the site? We're talking
This
about?
is what this guy said, yes. Cellared in a dark, dry place, an environment similar to my soul.
Not what I thought you were going to say.
This includes 22-ounce bottles of the 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014, and 2015
Holy
vintages
Oh my God.
of Hunapoo, all of which can be yours for the low, low price of.
Oh my God. 5 bottles, all aged,
Well, yeah,
in a dry, dark place.
yeah.
I
A dry, dark, and lonely
As
place.
opposed to a warm, moist place.
Yeah, exactly. Which, I mean, you can put your bottles in warm, moist places.
God.
I mean,
You
I've
better
done
drink
it,
them
but
soon.
Oh Jesus.
Number. Let's go.
1,200.
$1,200. Dan is saying. Steph, what do you think?
I don't know. I don't think that much. I'll say 600.
Steph saying $600, and finally, Jeremy.
How much do tickets to Hunapoo?
That's what I was.
Well, the tickets
that's
are
a
like
different
$400,
question, yeah.
but I've heard that you can make your money back just by selling the bottles in the hotel lobby. But it's also an experience.
That's
Like, there's
true.
all these amazing rare
Yeah.
beers that you get to
Yeah.
have while you're there.
It's
It's
more
an
than
event.
just
It's not
Hunapoo,
just
yeah.
a bottle release.
There's 5 years, 4 years vertical.
There is 1, 2, 3, 5. 2011 to 2015, including.
I'm going to say 2,000.
$2,000. Guess what, kids?
No.
All over?
Everybody's over.
I thought you were going to say Jeremy's right again.
Nope, everybody's over. So we're going to start from scratch with Dan.
What was the lowest one? 6?
The lowest was
6. I said 600.
yeah, the lowest was 600.
400.
Dan is saying 400. Steph, what do you think?
413.
Steph's saying
course.
413. Finally, Jeremy,
$132.
$132.
$1.
Steph is the closest without going over.
Finally.
The
damn.
asking price was $500.
I didn't say 401. Come on.
$100 a bottle sounds about right for that.
that's what I was thinking.
That's a decent asking price.
That's actually not too bad. I wouldn't spend it though.
I mean, I wouldn't either.
No.
But no.
But all right, so we're moving
Someone
on.
else can buy it and share it with me.
There you go. Yeah, that's how we get our good beer. Moving on to Steph, who's going to guess first on this one, and this is returning. Well, not the same beer, but this brewery was in the last time we played this game. 2014 Toppling Goliath Kentucky Brunch Brand Stout. Also a 22-ounce bottle, a 2014 vintage of Toppling Goliath's 12%
Toppling?
Toppling Goliath's 12% Imperial Stout.
Toppling? Or toppling?
Toppling. Toppling.
Okay.
Toppling.
Do you want my number?
Toppling. It's a rarity picked up directly from the brewery. This seller of this item notes that the bottle is, quote, empty, but sealed. And only one of those things is true. And it can be yours for the low, low price of
$89.
Steph is saying $89. Jeremy, what do you think?
72.
$72. And finally, Dan.
$2.
$2. I should point out that the one thing that wasn't true was the empty.
Figured.
We know.
Steph is the closest.
Because it's way over.
But it's $2,000.
You gotta be kidding.
No one's going to buy it for that.
$2,000. But Steph's guess of 89 is, in fact, the closest. All right.
I wanted to go over the top.
And you didn't. Moving on to
$1 million. You're
the best around. Nothing's gonna ever let you down. Whatever the song is. That was for J.A.W.N.
That's pretty awesome. All right, we're moving on to our final entry of the game. And I'm going to point out at this point that Jeremy has 3 points, Steph has 2, and Dan has none.
Oh, there's not going to be a German sparkle party.
There's not going to be a German sparkle party. However...
Quickly add 3 more.
Yeah, okay, let me just... That wouldn't actually be that hard if you just go on the website and scroll through the shit. But I am going to add a little incentive to Dan here.
Oh, crap.
If you get this one exactly right, I will give you 3 points.
Oh, all right.
Okay? All right.
2013 Purple Monkey dishwasher.
So Jeremy is going to guess first on this one, and this is a Goose Island Bourbon County Stout Flecha Roja Costa Rica Coffee Shaver Mug.
It's a mug.
From 2016.
Just a mug.
It's a ceramic.
A shaver mug from 2016. The mugs are brewery release only and are super rare. All right, guys? Super rare. It was created to celebrate their collaboration with Intelligentsia Coffee. Goose Island created the shaving mug, which was modeled after a 1930s rail union cafeteria mug. Can be yours.
$15.
For $15, says Jeremy. Dan, what do you think?
There's a lot of pressure here.
There is. Shaving mug. Goose Island.
It's a mug from
Branded.
Goose Island, brand new. Never been
Shave
used.
with it. I would hope not.
You never know. How about $27?
$27, says Dan, and finally Steph.
Damn, I was hoping you'd go higher than that.
Dan's trying to look at my phone and see the answer.
I'm guessing we're not all over at this point.
I'm going to go with the initial number I was going to say, $20.
$20. Dan is the closest, but not exactly correct because the asking price was $40.
Man. All right, at least I got 8 points.
If you've been keeping score at home, you will know, as do I, that Jeremy is our big winner.
Yay!
With a 50% success rate.
All luck.
3 out of 6. Jeremy coming in second place with Steph with 2. And Dan
With
squeaking in 1 point
Yay, no goose egg.
at the very end.
Good job, Dan.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone, for playing, and thanks to our audience for checking out patreon.com/beerbusters,
Yay.
where you can learn how to become a Beer Busters patron and get cool behind-the-scenes perk and be super awesome like Victoria Miles and Wolfgang von Colt and our favorite local brewery, Oakbrook Brewing Company.
Or
Yay.
Oakbrook.
Yeah, that's what I said.
You said Oakbrook.
I said Oakbrook.
Yeah.
I know what you meant. I know what brewery you're talking about.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. As long as you know. All right, well,
I've been correcting him since he was a baby, so it's my role as the older
And she gets to
cousin.
do it more when we're drinking beer.
That's
Yeah,
true.
that's right.
That's true. I lost. I'm shamed.
Round 2, fight.
Okay, so we've bottles this time around, which makes me very happy. But what is the first one that we have bottled?
This is the Logic and Reason Saison.
All right.
It's foeder fermented
Oh my god.
and dry hop Saison. Every batch, this is only the second batch, is dry hop with different hops. So this one is with Denali and Citra. Denali being a relatively new hop from Hopsteiner. And then, of course, everyone's favorite Citra. Everyone knows Citra.
Oh, wow.
There's no fruit in this beer.
Really?
I always like to say that because I think everyone, I mean, to me anyway, the most dominant thing is that it's really fruity. Between the hops and the Brett, it is a sack Brett blend in the foeder, but between the two, just has a huge fruit note to it. A lot of peach. Like to me, it's like tons of peach and apricot, stone fruit characteristics, and then the hop just accentuates that. And I've had a lot of people ask me, like, hey, what fruit did you put in this? I'm like, there's no fruit in this. There's none at all.
This is pretty fucking awesome.
Yeah,
it
it's pretty great. Like, I don't even want to talk about it. I just want to
I
drink
know, that's how I feel. This is the one, when I saw this one on the list, I'm like,
Yeah.
Wayne and I will be happy.
This is so
5.7, so it's not a big banger.
good. Yeah, and for
Super drinkable.
for being at that level, it's really complex and there's a lot going on.
Yep.
Without the huge alcohol sort of.
One of the things we've worked really hard on is all of our saisons, all of our sour beers are both in the keg and the bottle, 100% naturally carbonated. So
Right.
no forced carbonation on these at all. Even in the kegs, actually. And that's one of the reasons why you don't see a lot of our sour kegs outside is because, or sour and saison kegs is because we purposely carb them to the levels they're supposed to be at for the style. And most people, with taps don't understand how to pour high carb beers.
Right.
It's actually something we have a lot of experience with that because we prefer to carb the triple pretty high too, and we've had more problems with people not knowing how to pour a proper highly carbonated Belgian beer. So we keep most of these kegs in house. If we send them anywhere, it's I don't say a long conversation, but it's a pretty good conversation. Do you know how carbonated this beer is? But this is 100%. I mean, it's not it's not a spontaneous beer at all. But we pitched the culture in the foeder and we haven't touched it since. It's a Solera project actually. We've never opened up. Well, outside of originally opening up the foeder and then me climbing in, which to the amazement of the entire staff, they were like, "How did that fat kid fit in that?"
I hope someone took pictures.
There are some pictures actually, because the thing is, what they don't realize is that especially on the wooden foeders that don't have stainless steel manway entries, is they are waxed, so you slide in and out.
Oh yeah.
So, but you get wax all over, of course. But yeah, outside of the original time when I climbed in just to inspect the foeder and check out a few things, we haven't opened this particular foeder up since the original pitch. So every time we just put wort in, and then what we get out is what we get out. We've been doing different things on each batch. Like for example, this is technically the third batch. It's the second release, but the third batch of Logic and Reason we brewed. The first batch ended up in barrels, and then the second batch we dry hop with Mandarina Bavaria and Equinox, and then this one is with Denali and Citra. But every time we've gone into the foeder, we've tried some different processes and whatnot to see what the sack and the bread is going to do.
It's got like it's tart but not super puckery.
Yeah.
It's very bright.
Yeah.
And it's got like all that fruit character without the fruit actually being there.
I'm
really
more
great.
into, like, especially with Brett, expression more on the fruit side.
Yeah.
I don't mind funkiness, but I'm not looking for that extreme funkiness.
Right. Well, and I kind of feel like going for extreme funkiness. There we go with the not being able to say words. Oh my god. I do kind of feel like though, like like that's the easy way to do it. Like you just
I wouldn't
make
say it's the easy way.
I don't
to
want
do
to
it.
say it's easy. Like that's what I mean. It's not easy, but like
You can
that's-
get away with it more.
Exactly. That's the expected. Like, oh, it's super funky. Like it's a pronounced character that you recognize as being unique and interesting. Whereas going more for like the subtlety of it,
Yeah.
and like the fruit side of it,
Yeah.
is.
I mean, we
more,
definitely in-house direction with our, I mean, if you want to call it a Brett program, a specific Brett program, we definitely lean towards mixed culture strains, pitches that, could be 4 to 12, 13 different strains of Brett. And usually, in our experience, I'm not saying that these particular pitches, and we use commercial pitches from like East Coast Yeast, Omega
hashtag
Yeast.
my pitches.
Also, the Yeast Bay out in Oakland. So we're not, not to say, I don't want to be derogatory. We're not using bottle dregs or anything like that. Not that we wouldn't do that, we just haven't. With the amount of commercial pitches out there and what a lot of the labs are doing now, it doesn't make sense for us to do that. We can get the pitches we want. We're really lucky that we're so close to Al Buck and East Coast Yeast. Al's been great to us. I mean, anytime we've asked for something, like, hey, Al, can you get us a 20-barrel pitch of PDO and Lacto by next Thursday? Yeah, I think I make that happen. Why would we want to grow our own?
Yeah, when you have that resource.
That's have saving money.
Right.
But we don't have to worry about having the facilities for that. I mean, we have a lab. The idea is to eventually grow the barrel and the sour program to we have its own dedicated facility, which is it's almost there now, but we want a more specific facility for that, and then also a dedicated staff, and including on the lab side and the microbiological side, so that we're doing all that our own.
I just have to. I'll show Dan
The label.
Yeah. So I was gonna say, I love this beer because it's really fantastic, but also there's a wizard on the label.
Oh.
And I just noticed on the opposite side of the label from the wizard, there's books in the corner.
Yeah.
And the title of the book is Open Fermentation for Wizards.
That's JP. That's 100% JP.
That's awesome.
That's literally like, so the name Logic and Reason comes from, and this is where JP, a perfect example of like JP, I didn't really give him a whole lot, a lot of direction with this, but I gave him, not the history, but how we named the beer, which was there's no logic and there's no reason as to why we should be making fruiter beer next to clean beer. That's 100%. The Half Truth has a similar, is named in a similar fashion. So when I gave that, that description, that explanation to JP, somehow he came up with wizards because wizards are all knowing with logic and reason.
Yeah.
And JP, JP is actually a home brewer as well. So he doesn't homebrew all that other. He's not like this, giant guy that's going to enter, or giant homebrewer that's going to enter a lot of competitions. But he has a fair amount of knowledge too, and to the point where like he puts on the label. There's a keg fermenting or an open keggle, fermenting beer, and then there's a book that says open fermentation.
Of course.
The only thing that's inaccurate about the label is that this is not open fermentation, unfortunately, for this beer.
Right,
but
yeah.
I saw it on there. I was like, I don't care.
It's got to
Yeah.
stay. That's
it doesn't
pretty
have to apply to this beer.
It's
I'm
too
okay with
perfect.
it.
That is
So.
pretty awesome. And so the next beer we're going to try
Has gnomes on the
has
label.
an angry gnome on the
Yeah.
label. So what I'm wondering is like, is your entire sour beer series labeled with like just a party of D&D characters?
Well, I was really glad we didn't release a lot of this bottle, so LeChouf hasn't sued us yet. And actually, we have a new single strain saison that's dry hopped coming out real soon, called High Plateau Saison, that we purposely dry hop with a lot of very tropical forward hops. And I gave a really brief rundown and idea to JP, and based off of the Half Truth artwork, it's a bunch of gnomes on a beach, like suntanning and playing like volleyball and stuff. Like ridiculousness like that. So, no, JP's, he takes ideas and just runs with them.
Nice.
This beer smells fantastic. Oh
yeah,
my god.
that is really awesome.
Smells amazing.
It's got like a
Oh my
slight
god.
like red wine character,
Yep.
dark fruit.
Yep, definitely dark fruit.
Yeah, very nice.
So this is the Half Truth Sour Ale. This is the base beer for this is our Belgian double. Does stainless fermentation with our house Belgian strain, and then goes into barrels with Brett. We pulled this out at 18 months. Brett and raspberries goes into the barrel with Brett and raspberries. Then we pull it out, and then we didn't actually put any lacto in this beer at all. I'm fairly certain that there was some residual lacto in the barrels, and also you get a lot of tartness because this is then taken out of the barrels and then conditioned on cocoa nibs and raspberries. So then it spends another 6 weeks on cocoa nibs and raspberries in stainless, and then we package it. So you're getting a lot of the tartness from the raspberries, but then I'm fairly certain, even though we didn't pitch any lacto in this in those barrels at all, that there's definitely something in the barrels.
I love the way the raspberries mix with the cocoa nibs in this. Like the layers of the flavors to this are just blowing my mind.
This is actually a blend too. The prior sour we had done before this was In the Midnight Sour, which is a blend of, you know what? I'm an idiot. This is not our Belgian double. This is a Belgian stout. The base beer is a Belgian stout modified on IBUs, so we can then hopefully it will sour more in the barrels. Whereas in the Midnight Sour, which was the first sour, not the first sour release, but the first intentional. Well, again, it's not. First blended sour we ever did. That's a better way of putting it. Was our Belgian double, then blended with our house table sour.
Did you blast Billy Idol while you were brewing that?
No, we should have.
Yeah.
You know?
I want
The name
more,
definitely comes from that, and that's our buddy, our friend Buddy, came up with that name. But this is the base beer. This is a Belgian stout, modified IBU wise, so it'll handle all that. And the reason why it's called a half truth is that there was a running idea for a long time that you couldn't make a dark sour beer because usually darker malts, astringent malts, non-dehusked malts create an astringency that doesn't really pair well with sourness, and so that's a half truth because there's plenty of darker sours out there, and this is obviously another one.
Well, it's like you mentioned Free Will earlier. They've got Blood and Guts. That's a darker soured beer. That's
and they're
fantastic.
Ollie.
Yeah, Ollie as well. Yeah. I mean, this. Oh my God.
This is also 7.8.
Oh,
Yeah, it is.
But as you're
jug.
describing it, it doesn't sound like it should work at all.
It
And
doesn't.
It so
And
does
it is
so
so
perfectly.
good. There's so many.
That's why we call it the half truth.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a half truth that you can or can't do.
There's
Like,
Dan said
when
with
you
the
said
layers.
the cocoa nibs, I knew there was something, and I was like, oh, holy shit, that is cocoa nibs.
Yeah.
'Cause
Yeah,
It's just conditioned.
I
on
put it out of
yeah.
my mind because I'm like, there's no way there would be cocoa
It's
nibs
it's
in
like
this,
a
but-
cake. With
It reminds me
several
of a
layers.
raspberry tart.
Or an
Yeah.
onion.
Like a raspberry.
Well, it's
So after we had done the blend,
Or
it
an
was
onion.
like, okay, because there was raspberries in the
Or a
barrels
nacho dip.
with this and the bread. And the idea was once we tasted the barrels, all right, we got 6 barrels, and we're like, all right, these two are going together, these two are going together, and these two are going together, and those are going to be the blends, which is the nice thing about having the smaller 3-barrel fermenters. But then also once we tasted it, I mean, it's a raspberry beer that even the stout from the beginning, it has raspberries in the fermentation, it has raspberry honey in the boil, so it's a very raspberry forward beer. But we weren't certain what it was going to be, what we would do with it, if we would do anything with it. After we figured out the blend, and when we went through the barrels, we're like, all right, cocoa nibs and raspberries. This is a chocolate raspberry tart in a bottle. So,
Nice. Yeah,
so-
and that's exactly what it is, and it's really good.
It's
I'm really
amazing.
enjoying this.
I
It's
just
like
had-
a jelly-filled donut with chocolate icing on top.
I just
I
had-
like that
Reminding
description.
me of.
I'm gonna steal
Those
it.
are like my favorite donuts ever, so I'm in heaven.
So, but now we have more of this coming. Technically, we're sold out right now. I pulled this from my private stash.
Aw,
thanks, man.
we feel special.
Yeah.
So when is the next time Half Truth will be available?
I do want to do a blend probably in February.
I'll be back.
I want to get that. I want to get those bottles.
It
out.
would be a great
I mean,
Valentine's Day beer.
That would be.
For myself.
I'm going to steal that
Share
idea
with
too.
Jess.
I'm going to steal that. Maybe we have to do the blend in January. Well, actually, if we wanted it for Valentine's Day because of the bottle conditioning, it takes at least 6 weeks once we prime them.
Oh, get close.
Yeah, we would have to. It would have to go to barrels
You'd have
next
to
week.
do it
Or
like
bottles
tomorrow.
next week. So. But soon, maybe we'll do.
Come on, you're not busy. It's not like you have all this other shit going on.
Yeah, right.
Okay, we got to pick up the labels for the rock beer, and then
Well, next week we have bourbon barrel side. We have a lot of really cool stuff coming out. Next week we're pulling the winter wheat wine out of barrels. That was in Woodford Reserve double oak barrels.
Oh, Woodford.
And I'll tell you what, the one thing I'm really proud about our barrel program is that we're not losing barrels. The guys have done a great job of maintaining, cleaning and maintaining the barrels and keeping them in shape so that we're not getting infections, we're not getting oxygen ingress and stuff like that. And the 6 barrels of that we pulled, we're blending all 6. They all taste great. And then we also have a breakfast stout, which we call Frühstück.
Nice.
That was done with Rise Up Coffee and was also in Woodford Reserve barrels, and we're pulling that out, and that's going to be conditioned on more cocoa nibs and coffee as well. So those are both being pulled out of barrels next week.
But if it was a true German coffee stout, it would have like meats in it or something.
Well, it doesn't. It's not.
They have like charcuterie boards for breakfast.
It's only German in name. It's. I was trying to think of like a way to call it breakfast without calling it breakfast without people really knowing. But yeah, I mean we have those two coming out, and then we're doing another blend of this. We have another batch of this that we're gonna blend soon too.
By this he means Logic and Reason.
Logic and Reason.
For those of you that can't see.
But yeah,
that's all of you.
Then we have a spelt saison called Spite that's in barrels right now. All the barrels that we pulled off recently, the Adam beers over there that we just did with Sebastian from Frygeist, that'll be about a year on that. We have we're now making like what we call like a pale sour base, which is an oat lager. So it's actually a lager brewed with oats, flaked oats that we ferment with our lager yeast. Even at low temperatures, it produces a good amount of phenols that we like, a good amount of clove, even at 52 degrees, which we're really hoping that the Brett chomps down those and breaks them down into other flavor compounds. But we have a lot of that going on right now, too. Then we just put the High Plateau Saison in barrels as well. So,
jeez.
Too much stuff. I could go on and on.
Yeah, you've got a
Holy
lot
crap.
happening. That's incredible.
What we should
pretty
drink-
much anytime someone comes here, there's going to be something exciting, awesome, and new.
We're always doing something, to be honest. One of the things we try to do lately is we have a mailing list. So if you go to, it's not on the website, but if you go to our social media accounts, which is like facebook.com/Neshaminy Creek Brewing, or if you even go to our Instagram accounts, our events coordinator, Jeff, does a great job of, and actually also Pat, our taproom manager, of getting people, like putting that, but like, hey, you want to know what's going on at the tap room? You want to know about releases? Here's the mailing list.
Right.
So we've been doing a lot more directed emailings, which we haven't done up until about a month ago, which is, I think, going to be beneficial because sometimes I think people think that don't know that this stuff's not going because we're just not. We've been busier in the brew house and the cellar and with all the barrels than we have been on social media or our website. The way social media and the internet stuff works is more and more people are actually going to our website than what we probably thought before because, again, a lot of people don't know about our brewery. So when you go to Google and you type in Neshaminy Creek Brewing,
what comes up.
That's what comes up.
Right.
So, of course, that might be a redirect eventually to one of our social media accounts, but the first place they always go to is our website. And the one thing I will say about the brewery that kind of blows my mind is that the people that are on our social, that follow us on social media, whether it be Instagram is actually my favorite out of all of them, but whether it be Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or the direct email that we send out, I'm absolutely blown away with the amount of people that pay attention to the brewery. I mean, the readership of the emails, because we get the analytics and all that stuff back, and also like the page views.
Right.
And I'll post up, hey, this is the last release for Shape of Hops that come in 2016, and like 30,000 people view the page. And I'm just like, how is that even possible?
Right.
And then we have friends like one of our barbacks is Joe from the Menzingers, the drummer.
Yeah.
And,
No shit.
Yeah.
We were just listening
I
to them
saw them
on the
open
way
for
here.
Weezer
They
2
opened
weeks
for
ago.
Weezer.
You saw them in Bethlehem.
And and they were
Dan
came on
discovered them because he was listening to,
Apple Music, rock radio on shuffle.
and he had to repeat the name to himself over and over again, so he remembered
shit.
who they
I've
were
been
when
friends
he
with
got
those
home.
guys for a long time. I actually I sat at my buddy Keith's wedding at the same table with all the guys from the Menzingers, and this was 8 years ago.
Their guitarist,
Awesome band.
the guy that's like, I don't know their names, but the guy that's center stage.
Tom, bald little short guy. Yeah,
Dude's got more energy than I could
Oh,
ever
yeah.
fucking imagine.
they're amazing.
Holy
so
shit.
we I don't know if you knew, but we did a collaboration beer with them.
I did not know that.
So it was called Menzinger,
All right.
which is a play off of Kenzinger.
Right.
But it works out really well because when they're originally from Scranton, when they moved to Philly, they actually ripped off the Kenzinger T-shirt logo for a T-shirt. So we made a bastardized Imperial Kolsch. It was basically it was only a Kolsch in the sense that it was all German malt and Kolsch yeast and German hops. It was Mandarina Bavaria, and that was it. It was dry hop of Mandarina. We did so right where the fence and the sign is. We put up a stage, and they played. We did a full draft release. It was actually a 3-barrel batch we did on the pilot system, and they played here acoustically, and they got wasted. I got really drunk, which was really bad for them because I was doing sounds. The two bands, I don't know if you're familiar with the band Beach Slang.
Yeah.
So JP, our artist, is the original drummer for Beach Slang.
Of course.
There you go, too. But anyway, their new record comes out in February.
Yes, it does.
We're doing it, so we're doing a another draft-only version of Menzinger, and then we're doing an Irish coffee Irish dry stout for the band. Again, well, not just for the band. They brew with us. Like when we did Menzinger, they brewed it with us.
That's cool.
Again, they're going to do the same thing. We're going to can it. We're going to keg it. It's going to be available at the show. We're also going to put a down, like where the cases, we're going to figure it out still. I got to do this next week because it's going to be really important. The plan was to put like a download like link on the cans, and we're going to do probably.
Oh, that's cool.
Like the idea was to do 200 cases, and then send them out to distribution. And if you bought a case and you got a can, you could there'll be 200 times 24 that many there'll be 4,800 downloads out there for free.
That's
because
awesome.
of the cans.
That's cool. That's a really cool idea.
So,
I like that.
And it's not like hokey or anything like that because we've been friends with them a long time. I've been friends with with the guys for a long time. Joe works here. Eric, our Philly sales rep, he's actually technically Eric, the bass player's landlord. So yeah, I mean it's not like this forced thing or anything weird like that. Like, hey, let's do some marketing shit. It's just they love beer.
That's
We're
awesome.
friends with them. Joe works here. I'm kind of like I get bummed out when Joe goes on tour because he's not around anymore.
They're quickly becoming one of my favorite locals.
Awesome band.
They are so good.
Great, honest dudes too. Like some of the best humans on the planet.
That's so
I love them to death.
man.
They love to brew beer and they love to drink it. So
That's
it
awesome.
works out real well. So cool. Let's talk about the Goza then.
Yeah.
do that.
So blueberry goes in.
This is the blueberry Goza.
Why blueberries?
Because we're really close to New Jersey.
Okay. Good answer.
We have a really good relationship. We use a good amount of honey in a bunch of different beers, like the Neshaminy, our German wheat bock, is brewed with orange blossom honey.
Ooh.
And we get it from Fruitwood Orchards down here in South Jersey, Hamilton. I like this beer a lot because it's evolving. It's changed a lot because we didn't pasteurize or do anything to the blueberries. We got them directly from the farm. They were picked, and then boom, we made it. So it's standard Goza. I don't want to say standard Goza, but it's a Goza brewed with sea salt and coriander, and then and we put blueberry honey in the kettle, and then it's a kettle sour too, and then into the fermenter, fermented on 300 pounds of fresh New Jersey blueberries, completely unpasteurized. Whatever bugs were on it, let her rip. And then we use our house ale yeast, Cal Ale. To me, it tastes like blueberry champagne.
Yeah, it's very light and effervescent, like a champagne type. Especially like the aroma has a lot more going on, and then when the flavor is a little more like straightforward and like easy drinking.
There's something about you smell the blueberries and the salt together in the aroma, and then you don't taste the salt until the back end, until the aftertaste.
You almost have to lick your lips, and you're like, oh,
yeah,
it is there.
There it is. Yeah.
I was just saying this to Wayne the other day. I normally don't like Gozas that much. It's the one beer style that I haven't really come around to
because they're salty bitches.
It's not really bad.
Wow.
But I don't know what it is about them, but this I really enjoy. I think it's got to be the blueberries mixing with the saltiness, which I never would have imagined I would like or would work.
It kind of makes me want to put salt on an actual blueberry.
Yeah.
That'd
Well,
be interesting. Yeah, like sea salt blueberry.
It would be good, I think.
I don't know what it is about getting older and being over 40 now, but I have to put salt on everything.
Just so I can taste it. I can't taste it otherwise.
I mean, I got to put like a pound on. Like, I'll cut a cucumber in like a slice. We're like, all right. And you can't visually see me putting a pound of salt on just this little like slice of cucumber. But I feel like I
just
have to
carry around a salt lick.
I didn't notice it. I don't know. It triggered at 41 or something. I don't know what it is. But I mean, it's also the same thing with this. Is like you can smell the salt, but you don't taste it up front. It's not in the front of the flavor. But then once the beer clears, you're on the back end. You're like, all right. But the nice thing is the saltiness. It's like eating chips. You're like, all right, I get to take another sip.
But it doesn't have like that bitey front of like salt. Like it's that sort of more of that savory, like dissolved salt. If that makes any sense.
At the very, very end, you get it.
Yeah. It's really nice.
I mean, I would love to put this in 750s and then bottle condition it on champagne yeast because I feel like this is blueberry champagne.
That would work out pretty
well. It's like salty blueberry champagne.
Yeah.
It's got that citrus note from the coriander, but it's got...
It sounds so wrong, but it's so right.
It does,
I know, right?
yeah.
It does sound weird, but yeah.
It is weird. And I think a lot of times actually people read the description on the menu and they're like, I don't want to try that. And they try and they're like, yeah, wait, how much alcohol is in this? And 4.0, I'm going to take a bunch of these.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's... we released it in September, so it's still hanging around. We have, I think, only like 2 more kegs in the back of it. I like it because it's because we didn't do anything to the blueberries and we just went with whatever bacteria and whatever bugs were on the blueberries. It's changed over time. It's definitely it's more spritzy now. It almost has, I hate to say it, like wine cooler type, like spritziness and flavor. It's almost
but it's not sickening sweet.
no,
Right.
at all.
It's not at all.
There's not much
actually-
sweetness at all. It's
Wine
just,
coolers are usually really
Well,
not
the
sweet.
saltiness would cut through the sweetness.
the wine coolers are very
That.
Kool-Aid.
The sourness and the sweet, the sourness and the saltiness they cut through the pH on this.
Yeah.
Like you wouldn't even think about not pH isn't like it's a guide. It's not a rule. Total Acidity is a better way of describing sour beer. But believe it or not, like one of the problems we really had is that, this is actually a beer that got us to stop thinking. We had already been in that idea of thinking about sour beer in TA and Total Acidity as opposed to pH, because it's just something that's not good, because you can have beers that have a low pH but don't have that representation. This beer is actually lower in pH than Cantillon, most Cantillon offerings, and Cantillon's sour as fuck.
Yeah, for sure.
But this beer doesn't display that because of all the blueberry, the fruitiness from the blueberry, and all the salt. It doesn't do that at all. And I think that's, again, it's part of brewing. What we were talking about earlier about like making different styles of beer. Like you would never know that unless you made this beer, or unless you've tried to do something similar, like you fruited a Goza, or you're used to using salt in a beer. And to be honest, outside of Goza, I don't have any experience of using salt in a beer. So I don't know if they got the other keg of Coffee John on, but let's get to
Is
it.
it time for the John?
We could probably break
think-
them.
We can share. We can share.
These are big glasses. These are big pours.
I've been looking forward to this one pretty
Wayne is-
much all night.
Mixing the John.
Oh, jeez. What I really like about it is it still looks like John.
It is John.
Yeah.
I mean, because it is, yeah.
It
It
looks
is-
like John,
this
but
is
it
it.
doesn't smell like
Well,
John.
No, it does not.
It all goes back to the coffee kolsch from St. Benjamin for me.
Oh
because
my God,
the-
that smells
yeah,
Making
the
the
aroma is
really
fantastic,
awesome.
but it's because you wouldn't expect coffee out of a beer that looks like this.
Nope.
Yeah, I think
And
my
that's-
brain has gotten over that.
Yeah.
Well, I know. Mine, I think, has too, but it still amazes me every
Yeah.
time because I feel like coffee overall should have a darker
Yeah.
color, but this doesn't. This is it looks pretty much exactly like John.
We had that coffee Kolsch.
Kolsch, yep.
Oh
that
my
new
God.
style beer from Berks County.
When we had that coffee Kolsch at St. Benjamin, that was like the first time I had a pale beer that was a coffee beer. And I was literally like, does not compute.
It doesn't,
not
yeah.
compute. Like this is a big, but I've had a few since then, and I think I've started to be like,
So
okay.
you said you're really into coffee.
Yes.
I mean, how really are you into coffee? And I'm not saying, and I'm not asking that like, dude, are you into coffee?
No, I'm not
You're
like
into
I'm not
coffee,
like
bro.
a coffee connoisseur.
He's not the hipster spend
Yeah, I'm not
$500
like-
a bag. He just drinks a shit ton
Skinny
of it.
latte, but I
To
drink
put it
fucking
in perspective,
coffee.
at home we have a can of chock full of nuts
Okay.
by
Yeah.
our coffee maker.
Like
So
I'll
you
drink.
get along really well with our office manager, Kevin.
Yeah, I just love drinking coffee.
I'd say that coffee here, especially on the drinking side of things, is a mild obsession. It probably goes beer, coffee, water. As
yeah,
far as
that's
consumption.
probably about right.
We get really good coffee from Rise Up Roasters down in Eaton, Maryland. Unbelievable coffee. It's great working with them because if we have a flavor profile in a beer, I can literally call up or email Tim and Noah and say to them like, "Hey, this is the flavor profile we have in this beer, and this is what we're looking for. What do you have?" And they'll be like, "Dude, we got this bean from Guatemala. It's not, it's still in the, in the casing. It's still got the green casing around it, but like we let it ferment out and then we roast it." And it does this, and we're like, sure, man, just like
Sounds awesome.
Give me 80 pounds of it. We got a shipment of 80 pounds yesterday.
That's awesome.
With the John, that actually comes from the cast side of things that we were talking about earlier. The experimentation that Steve had been doing and has been doing with a lot of the cast beers was specifically the organic breakfast roast from Rise Up. He was doing John in firkins with a considerable amount of coffee. And we had done 4 of them, and every single one of them, when we put them on tap here, we were just like, wow.
Yeah.
And not just us, the feedback we were getting from people here in the tap room was like, this beer is effing awesome. We want it. So we're like, all right, we got to figure out how to make this in big batch. Because going from a 9-gallon firkin, with that surface area and, and that contact time, we're still working with it. We started off with a base of like, okay, this is how much he's using per 9 pounds. And we're slowly adjusting the contact time and the amount. But we're specifically using, when we asked Rise Up, it was like, look, this beer is dry hop with these hops. We get a lot of citrus, a lot of fruit forward. We're looking for a really light roasted bean that's going to give us that citrus forward. we're looking for a minimal flavor impact, but we want it to be noticeable that there's coffee there. But we don't want it to be a coffee beer. We still, at the end of the day, we want it to be a pale ale with coffee. We want it to be a dry hop pale ale with coffee.
I like that way of looking at it a lot, because a lot of people would want the coffee to be the star of the show, but you see it more as like a compliment to it.
I want it to be, honestly, I'm really happy with this beer, but I also, because I'm a coffee junkie, I want more coffee.
Oh, of course.
It needs more.
I definitely want a lot more coffee in it.
It needs more coffee.
So,
and
You can still taste the nugget hops.
And
which I
that's
think
the
is
thing.
amazing.
Yeah, it doesn't overpower what you would know with J.A.W.N. already.
Yeah.
Now, what amazes me is that if you came to me and said, we have a version of J.A.W.N. with coffee, I'd be like, there's no way that works. Like, there's no, because I
The first time Steve did it for Ferguson, I was like, that's not
yeah, because I'm thinking like the dark, bitter, but like you said, having a lighter roast, a brighter, more like fruity coffee going in, and not making the coffee the centerpiece of the beer. It works really well.
I mean, it works really well. There's the other side of that, too, I think that works really well with this beer, is that we use the heady yeast in this. So J.A.W.N's fermented with the heady topper yeast, the Vermont yeast, whatever you want to call it. And it's got an English lineage. That yeast has an English lineage, and it pushes the fruity ester side of things. And that, with the hops and with this coffee, pushes that. We've actually done one batch of this on Cal Ale, and it's not the same. Like, it's actually a lot more bitter because that yeast strain doesn't express the esters, so the bitterness from the hops and the bitterness from the coffee comes through more, whereas this beer, or this version, or the version that we make with J.A.W.N. with the coffee and the Vermont ale yeast, it's all fruit. You smell the coffee, but it's fruity coffee. It's a citrus, and it's a little bit of that pininess from the nugget. It's the combination of those things. We're right now at just over a pound per barrel of coffee in the fermenter.
That's a lot of fucking coffee.
It is, but it's not.
It is, but
considering how I don't want to say subtle. It's not subtle, but
it's
not overpowering.
Right.
I'm surprised that there's that much.
Our coffee porter last 2015's anniversary beer was a vanilla coffee porter, and we did that at 9 pounds per barrel.
Wow.
Holy shit.
Wow.
Which I thought was funny because Steve and I went to NHC last year in San Diego, and Maritime's great brewery, make great coffee too. We went specifically to one of the discussion seminars during NHC, was led by Maritime's, talking about using coffee and beer, and they were like talking about their coffee, usage rates.
When in doubt, add more.
No, they were at 2 pounds per coffee, and then I pulled my cell phone out and I said, and I leaned over and said, dude, concrete coffee's at 9 pounds per barrel. He's like, you think it's too much? I was like, nah, that's perfect. That's fine. Good. I was like, that's exactly what I want. So, we probably won't change a whole lot with this beer. It'll be probably the same amount of coffee. We've been, the first time we did it was only aged for 7 days. Because Steve was doing it for 5 days in the Firkins. And the coffee on 9 gallons, the contact is so, there's so much more surface area for 9 gallons on that coffee that you don't need to do that much. So we did 7 days on the first time, and we're like, okay, we need more time. We did 12 days on this one. We're going to probably up it to about 14 or 15 days. And then I think, again, if you're drinking a pale ale and you want coffee beer, well, you're drinking the wrong beer. Like, maybe you want a breakfast stout. The better explanation is we're trying to use coffee just like hops. You're dry beaning it.
Yeah.
Dry beaning it.
Dry beaning. Dry bean.
Those beans, though, when you put them,
Those
wash them
beans
away.
We haven't done it yet. What I actually want to do is then there's a bunch of different things we've actually thought about doing with this beer specifically, which one is we want to take the green coffee beans from Rise Up, put them in a bourbon barrel, and ferment them in the bourbon barrel.
Nice.
With some of our beer, then take them out and roast them, and then use them to dry bean this beer.
Wow.
Just get dumb with it. Just
That
straight
sounds pretty
stupid.
No, I would try that. I would
sounds really
totally
cool.
try
No, it's
that.
worth trying.
Man.
This has been a journey.
This has definitely been
Certainly
a
has.
journey, and I'm going to throw out there that right now we've been recording for 3 hours.
Yeah.
But it doesn't feel like
you're
it.
going to have to thoughtfully cut some shit out.
Yeah, it's a good thing I'll have extra time coming up.
You got 2 weeks.
We have a 2 week
2
lead
weeks.
on this one, yeah.
But I love the journey that we were taking on. So we started off with the Churchville Lager, and we went into the Smoked Lager, and then the Hellas Lager, and then you hit us with the IPA, the double IPA.
Right in the face.
Right in the face, and then he took us into the sour and then other stuff you wouldn't necessarily realize could work out, but they do so very well. And it just goes to show you guys are doing an awesome thing here.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
We're trying. We're always trying to do better.
So if people want to reach you online, I know we briefly mentioned social media earlier, and at this point don't know.
Neshaminy Creek Brewing on Facebook.
Right.
And at NCBC Beer on Twitter and Instagram.
And I dare anyone to go to ncbcbeer.com. It's amazing. So
Is it a porn site?
No. Can I just tell the story really
accepted.
quickly? I don't
Sure.
want to keep you guys too much longer.
No,
I
that's
know
fine. Go
I'm
ahead.
jabbering along. So we're hiring right now because I was saying earlier that we're not very happy with our. I mean, the website looks great. Neil and the guys from Inverse Paradox did a great job with the website, and we owe them a beer for it. And I mean that literally, we owe them a beer in the brew kettle for it. And we need to get around to do that. But Neil's been really busy with not just being a professor at Philadelphia University and owning his own web development company, but also having 2 kids that are very young. Anyway, we need to do a better job of keeping our website up to date. So we've been interviewing for a social media, what we call a social media and digital content director. So anyway, to tell the story about ncbcmeat.com or ncbcbeer.com, it goes to meat.
Whoa, wait a minute.
So I told you earlier about the aforementioned member of our staff that we call the Meat Man.
What are NCBCs, and why do they need their own website to meet?
Hold on, it all makes sense in a second. God, I wish I don't wish it, but if I was drunk, it'd be even more hilarious. So we're interviewing for this social media and digital content manager, and we do second interviews. We interviewed like 14 people, a lot of qualified people, great people. Our HR guy, Kevin, did a good job of narrowing it down to 6 more people, and we asked him to come in for second interviews because he did all the first interviews, and I hadn't met any of them. So I was like, since I'm the main person that does, well, Jeff does a lot of it too, but like on the website, it's me. Mm-hmm. I want to meet him, at least just meet him, get a feel for him. So I feel like it was the second person that came in. I wish I could remember the name. He says to me, we go through the just bullshitting about the position, what we're trying to do, what we're trying to accomplish, what we're doing with the artwork, and how we feel like we have a good aesthetic with our artwork, and we have a great photographer. Anthony does an unbelievable job with all that stuff. And then go through that whole thing, and I ask him, so do you have any questions for us? And he's like, yes, like one question, typical, whatever. Ask another question, typical, whatever. And then I was like, all right, cool, man. Well, if you have any questions, just any other questions, just drop Kevin an email, and I'm sure he'll get back to you. He's like, I do have one more question. And I was like, all right, what's that? He's like, is there any particular reason that NCBC Beer, he's like, your handle for Twitter and Instagram is at NCBC Beer, but Facebook is facebook.com/ / Neshaminy Creek Brewing, not NCBC Beer. He's like, is there any reason why ncbcbeer.com goes to the Wikipedia entry for meat? And Kevin and I look at him, and I literally said, I was like, what? What did you say? He's like, if you go to ncbcbeer.com, it goes to the Wikipedia entry for meat.
Oh, everybody's grabbing their phones.
I'm not making this up. Trust me. This is 100% true. And so immediately, Kevin was sitting in front of his computer.
It really does.
I was like, Kevin, go to it right now. Go to ncbcbeer.com. So at the time, and actually to make the story even funnier, at the time, as soon as he told that, and as soon as we verified it on, told us that, and then we verified it on the web, I knew what it was. I mean, at least I had a really good idea what it was, because of Meat Man, our lab manager, the man of meat, and that's the time for a story for another podcast. I was like, I know exactly what this is. I know someone did this because of him. But we couldn't get the answer because Meat was on paternity leave. We have paternity leave here. We're a progressive company. We are. We actually, regardless of your sex, you get a month of paid paternity leave. He was gone for 2 weeks. And that interview happened during the 2 weeks. So I couldn't, I had to text him or, call him. And I was like, oh, fuck it. I'm just going to wait till he comes in next week. Because he's coming back from paternity leave. And I was like, his first day back, I walked in and I was like, how's everything go with the kids? Oh, cool, man. I saw the pictures, blah, blah. That's great, man. How's your wife? Oh, great. How are you guys doing? Oh, blah, blah. All right, cool, man. I got to ask you a question.
ncbcbeer.com.
I was like, I know this has something to do with you. Why does ncbcbeer.com go to the Wikipedia entry for meat? He's like, he just puts his head down. He's like, I was hanging out with a bunch of friends at a holiday thing like a year ago, and one of them, we got drunk, and one of them went and registered the domain name. Then pointed it to the Wikipedia entry for meat. And I was like,
Oh, my
that's
God.
so awesome, it's not even funny. It was beyond funny.
And now it will forever be that.
Exactly.
Yep.
And so he's like, well, he thought it would be funny and stupid at the same time, but then he was like, yeah, I'm going to, like, email your boss and try to get money from him for the domain. He's like, dude, I'm going to wait until that domain, like, expires and I'm going to take it.
Yeah.
I'm going to totally take it. I'm going to do, like, a redirect to the Wikipedia entry, and then 5 seconds later, it's going to go to our website.
Nice.
I'm going to set that up to do that.
So what is the real website then?
Neshaminy NeshaminyCreekBrewing.com.
Okay, Neshaminy Creek Brewing.
And since we are hiring a social media and digital content editor, the website in the next 2 months is going to kick ass.
Yes.
Very
In
nice.
content. Much more updated content.
Well, of course, any important links that you need will be linked from beerbusterspodcast.com. It's been a lot of fun.
You
Thank
should come into the tap room. We do a brewer series where, like, I don't know if we're going to continue. I hope we continue to do it. Is that we have a different member of the brewery bartends and
that's cool.
like staff members, and you can come and ask whatever questions.
Oh, cool.
That's cool.
So if you want to stay for a while, do it the night that Jeremy is pouring beers.
I don't do that because I'm here too much anyway. That's any random night of the week. But we did it with Meat Man before, so hopefully Meat Man will.
Meat Man.
The return of Meat
The Meat Man cometh.
The Meat Man cometh.
So hopefully he'll do it again
boy.
because I really want like 30 people to show up and just start asking questions like, why does NCBC here go to meat?
What is meat?
We've actually had people ask that in the story. Again,
no.
we'll say that for another podcast. It's a pretty
Don't
awesome
worry, we'll
story.
be
Stay
back.
tuned for part 2.
Part 2 of
CBC Part 2.
Man. Jeremy, thank you for having us out.
Thank
here,
you so
man.
much for coming out.
Yes,
This
thank
was
This was
so
a lot
much
of fun.
fun. Of course, we have to thank Audible for their
Yep.
continued support. audibletrial.com/beerbusters. Sign up for your
Thank you,
complimentary
Audible.
30-day trial of your own, very own, it's yours, Audible account. Audiobooks.
Audible and Jesus.
And
2 reasons
Jesus.
to keep going.
Yep, absolutely. Praise Audible. Almost any book that's released you can listen to. And you're busy. We're all busy. Just let somebody else read it to you as you're going about doing your chores. So, again, audibletrial.com/beerbusters. Don't forget, you can go to patreon.com/beerbusters.
Yes.
And you can become one of our awesome patrons. Donate as little as $1 a month or as much as $1 million a month, whatever you choose.
And if you made it this far in this episode, thank you. We love you.
You
I
can
get-
edit it down. I won't be offended.
I'll kind of have to, but
He'll
I'll
cut
keep-
us out first.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry you didn't hear the Know Your Beer, because most likely that's getting cut.
We can put that as an outtake.
No,
That'll be
leave
a
that in.
Patreon
Because I
exclusive.
You got to cut that
Patreon.
in just after the Hellas. I mean, if you can last 3 hours through a Joe Rogan podcast, you can make it
true.
through that.
That's true. Well, unfortunately, this brings us to the end of another episode of Beer Busters, and it's been a hell of a night. Thank you for having us out here again, Jeremy.
Thank you. Thanks for driving all the way out here. That's a hike for you guys.
Fucking turnpike on
We're
a
in
Friday
South Philly.
night, by
This
the
was
way.
nothing
Oh,
for
okay.
us.
Two
I thought you
fucking
were on
hours.
No, no.
South Philly's easy then.
Yeah.
2
But,
hours for me. 2 fucking
Yeah,
hours.
yeah.
It is
on the
mother.
You drove at the
Turnpike.
wrong time of the day. That's
No
all.
matter
yeah,
where
Friday
you
evening.
are coming from, it is worth the trek.
It's worth it.
To
It is.
Bristol/Croydon to Neshaminy Creek. And, man, these beers are great. And look for the Logic and Reason. Look for all the bottle releases and everything. And cbcbeer.com, of course. No, go to the real one.
No,
Well, hey,
go to that one. It's got more information.
yes. Well, I'm Dan Baker, joined as always by my co-host and brewerologist.
Steph Heffner.
We ran out of music, but here's our demented and fermented.
Wayne Baker.
We'll see you next time.
Live from Los Angeles, California, Lacto Reactor.